So Nitro then. Number 134, also April 6th, 1998. An ambulance pulls up outside the building. Randy Savage is down in the parking lot. I believe they had Vincent and the Disciple out there briefly. And they said
Actually, not at first.
Not at first? Okay. They put him in a neck brace and are about to load him into an ambulance.
They showed this clip over and over throughout the show. And somewhere about mid-show, they said, we have found extra footage.
Yes.
Yeah, we rewound it.
Which is the exact same footage, just rewound more, yes.
Right.
I love that. First off, Doug Dillinger just looks absolutely clueless. He's the head of security.
Right.
There's a body on the ground. And
One of your biggest stars.
Doug Dillinger's literally like standing over the guy with his arms crossed, looking down like, it's fucking bad. Have to get somebody out here to scrape this guy off the ground. And then it took him, I even wrote it down how long it took.
Brian's also a thespian.
Thank you. It took them, I believe, 47 minutes
Right.
to back this guy up and get him in the ambulance.
Worst EMT squad ever.
And jumping forward, since Craig mentioned it, when they rewound the tape, there's a Viper flying out of the parking lot.
Dodge
Viper.
Not Randy Orton.
Whoever fucking was driving this, I mean, it's swerving right and left. I mean, this is what almost killed Bret Hart, like, years later.
Not only that, since you're bringing it up now,
Yeah.
Randy Savage is lying on the ground like 10 feet away.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
They could have run him over.
Yep, they did not give a shit. There was a war to win here. This fucking maniac drives out of here, and then, I swear to God, Vincent runs up, and he looks right in the camera, and he goes, NWO business.
Yeah.
So much for being a mystery.
Yeah.
I was like, what? You just committed a fucking crime. Which was serious enough that dudes had to jump into a Dodge Viper and fucking fly
Yes.
out of there.
Clearly he was
then
trying to not be caught.
He's trying to flee, and then this shithead comes up and just goes, NWO business, brother. I'm like, this fucking guy, he's good for nothing.
No.
Nothing.
Ever. Oh, what a trios match to open this show. El Dandy and Psychosis and La Parka versus, as they were introduced, Magnum and Suwa and Nobunaga.
This brought back some great memories of being on the road to Cloverdale with myself, Brian, Matt Farmer, and Nick when Nick and Brian got into a massive discussion about who was better, Tokyo Magnum or Jeff Jarrett. And they went on and on and on.
Well, clearly he didn't watch these two shows because the answer was fucking patently obvious that it was Magnum Tokyo.
And Nobunaga, if you're not aware, is Shima Nobunaga with the worst haircut of all time.
Dude, these guys were treated like absolute nobodies. They said they were 3 dudes who trained with Ultimo Dragon and they lived in Mexico. That's all they told us, and they were just bodies.
So Shima's out there with his bowl cut parted down the middle, and everyone just immediately starts doing dives. Everyone's flying in the ring, flying out of the ring. In the middle here, let's see, Psychosis goes for a kick, but he misses. He accidentally punts his own partner, La Parka, in the balls.
Think about that for a minute. How do you accidentally hit somebody in the nuts while you're trying to kick them? His partner, his opponent, moved out of the way to the side.
He should have done a leapfrog.
I guess. All I know is poor La Parka gets punted in the yarbles, and his response is to stand straight up, point an accusing finger at Psychosis, and teeter over like a tree. I laughed so hard. I laughed and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. So everyone hits a bunch of dives. Psychosis pins Shima with a leg drop. I don't know how to rate this as a wrestling match, but as gymnastics, it was pretty cool. And then Parka hits Psychosis with a chair afterwards.
Sounds like a lot of matches nowadays.
That's actually true.
Were these guys from the Toriomon promotion or...
I was trying to remember the names.
I thought it was either Toriomon, but they later became Dragon Gate, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
They were Ultimo Dragon trainees, so somewhere down that train.
It was Toriomon then, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, so Psychosis gets the win, but then Parka hits him with a chair afterwards. And El Dandy, who is their partner, looks at Parka and shrugs. Why did you do that? And Parka, to explain, he makes a kicking motion. He points at his own testicles, and then he begins to sell again. Parka's the best.
He wasn't even pointing. He was like,
Yeah.
it was very lewd. It's very, very lewd.
Disco Inferno versus Booker T.
So can we all talk about, again, how I'm right every week about Disco Inferno?
Okay, I'll see.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and how did he start off this match? We don't even need to wrestle. I'm going to turn my back. You put the belt on me. Yeah, serious, Brian.
Yeah, and then they had a serious match, which was a really good
Get out
match.
of here. I'll use your own thing.
Get out of here.
You get out of here.
Vinny, was this not a good wrestling match with the Disco Inferno after the dancing at the beginning?
I gloss over things that make me uncomfortable.
Oh, get out of here. You get out of here.
Why don't you should save that for you and Tom, all right? That's
He's not here.
That's why I said save it. Was that hard to explain?
No, my point is you're in the room, so you can get out of here.
Oh, okay.
He's not in the room, so he
my
can't
keys.
get out of here.
Vinny, you want to go now or?
So they had a fun match.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Booker made his comeback, including a very violent spine buster. And he won with a missile dropkick, and they showed 2 or 3 of these moves in replays. Disco took an ass kicking here.
Yeah, it was a good match. He worked it well.
He did not tuck his chin well on the spine buster.
That was very
My
bad.
goodness.
We had an NWO drama highlight reel.
For the first time in my life, I'm going to talk about the Nitro Girls dancing. I normally skip it, but I hit the plus 30 seconds button or whatever, and the jump forward, and all of a sudden, bodacious tatas right in front of my face. I finally understood what Ric Flair was talking about. It was Kimberly.
It just now?
She was all over that iPad. It was awesome.
What else was all over that iPad?
Oh, Vinny.
Jeez.
Captain Uncomfortable over here. Throwing out that line.
Lenny Lane versus Kidman.
This guy.
This match starts, and it goes it's about 90 seconds in, I realize, holy shit, this is terrible. And I had to go back to the start and rewatch it just to really take in how awful this fucking match was.
Lenny Lane does this thing that drives me crazy. When you're whipping
Wrestle?
a man, well, yeah. When you're whipping a man into the turnbuckle or the ropes, you kind of lead them into the ropes, and then you take a stutter step, and then about a quarter of the way to the ring, you toss them, you whip them in.
All right.
Lenny Lane takes, I don't know, about 6 inches, and as ridiculous as it is to actually run the ropes that you're being thrown into, it looks so much more phony when you whip the man from the turnbuckle and don't actually use any force to do it.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
So you're saying it looks fake?
So you're saying he does like the luchadors do it?
Absolutely. There you go.
So they had an awful, awful match. Lenny can't run the ropes. He can't move in a straight line. He can't, he sells a minute into a match like they've been doing an Iron Man match. It also looked like they got a time cut right before they went out there and just cut out any pauses, any crowd interaction, any character of any kind. Kidman won with a shooting star press.
You know, this match was bad, but I wasn't even looking at the match. I was just thinking that you got 2 young guys out there on the undercard who are sent out there to just do a match. One guy wins. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who holds any of the titles. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who holds 9 out of the 10 titles in this promotion right now. They're all like, I mean, Jericho has a belt, or Eddie, or Chavo, or Jericho. Who the fuck has a belt on this? They changed 9,000 belts on pay-per-view. Anyway, it was exactly like it was in 1995. Exactly. Hulk Hogan's about to come out and do another fucking boring promo. And you know what? I hadn't even realized at that point that they lost the ratings war the next week. But that's all I could think about during this match. Who could watch this show every week? It's the same shit over and over.
So Gene plugs the hotline, and he brings out J.J. Dillon to discuss Randy Savage's injuries.
I love these interviews.
So, as noted, we saw EMTs tending to Randy Savage for 45 minutes to open the show. Last we saw him, he had a neck brace on and was being strapped into an ambulance and taken away. And so Gene's question is, the question on everyone's mind, he says, how will this affect the Spring Stampede main event?
Well, you know, Vinny, it's a very important question.
Should the question be, will Randy Savage ever walk again?
Yeah.
Dillon says he's going to get to the bottom of what happened. He starts to leave. Gene says, wait. And JJ turns around, and clearly this was an ad-lib on Gene's part. And Gene says, I need you to promise me that when you know more, You'll let us know. JJ says, you got it. He leaves.
Yeah. Like, if we pretend that this is real.
Did he think they're going to keep Randy Savage's condition a secret?
No, it's just like, Gene and JJ had to have talked, right? Gene just doesn't go out and just call the guy out.
You would think.
He goes, we're here to get an update on Randy Savage. JJ, what is the update on Randy Savage?
No update.
I have no update on Randy Savage. Okay. But when you get one, will you tell me?
Absolutely not.
Why was this not done backstage? Why was this done in front of the people? What a bunch of idiots.
Norman Smiley versus Conan in a very boring match.
Norman Smiley had his trunks on the right side wedged in between his butt cheeks.
Clearly you have forgotten Norman Smiley.
And they were there when the bell rang, and they were there when he tapped out at the end.
I'm pretty sure they were designed that way.
Only
Norman
on one
Smiley
side. Only
had-
on one side.
This man wore the tiniest trunks ever. All the fucking time. If you notice it today, you're in for a long couple of years, dude. Every single match.
So here we are, nearly an hour into the show, and at random, they just announced, hey, the main event tonight is Sting defending the world title against Kevin Nash.
That would have been something that might have got people to stick around.
It may have.
I think they may have mentioned it earlier, but...
No, they
I don't
announced
think
here
so.
in a manner that says we have just gotten breaking news. They made it clear this was new. So Norman, the babyface, made a comeback that involved an abdominal stretch.
It was an abominable stretch.
May have been.
This match was abominable.
They did some stuff. Conan killed him with a cradle DDT and finished him off with a tequila sunrise.
Yippity-doo.
Buff Bagwell versus DDP.
Good match.
With joy and glee that I wish I could match. Buff Bagwell comes out and says to the camera, I got a new mustache.
And he did.
I love Buff.
I love Buff because they're doing this match. Raven is in the crowd. DDP foolishly goes after the guy. And Bagwell wins by countout. And Bagwell does not give a shit how he won.
Joy.
Why would
He just wants his hand raised. He's screaming at the referee and thrusting his fist at the man as if to say, please, raise my hand now. And the referee raises his hand. He's so happy. And you know what? Great.
Yeah.
His job is to win and make more money as a result. He doesn't care how. He doesn't care where his opponent went. He's not there to compete. He's there to win.
I love his offense when he kicks a man, stops and poses. And then he chokes the man. He stops and poses.
He's awesome.
Whips him in, clothesline, stops and poses. Again and again and again. And it's great.
I like when he stops and it goes to the camera to mark out for himself.
Did you see that?
I can't believe how great I am. Bagwell's the best. So he's won by countout, but he declares himself the new U.S. champion, demands they present him with the belt, and as they're refusing to do this, Paige returns, leads him out with a diamond cutter.
I love that DDP was so mad that he got himself counted out, but then he just stopped going after the guy to come back in and give this guy a diamond cutter. I don't know.
Wrestling's wacky.
We're very, very close, by the way, to poor Bagwell breaking his neck and never being the same again.
So here's where they had more footage of the Savage attack, including the Viper squealing out of control all over the parking lot, and Virgil and Disciple being there.
I like that name, Decipher.
I think I said
Who is he this week?
I may have said Decipher, which makes no sense. Decipher is a better name. Anyway, my first thought was, if Virgil and Disciple are there, why is Hulk Hogan in his red and yellow car bothering to try and hide his identity and flee the scene?
Did it have the Hulkster personalized tag?
Probably
on the back
did.
of it?
Probably did.
Brother.
Kayfabe.
So Hogan comes out for a promo with a bunch of other NWO dudes. Claims he had been late to the show because he was stuck in traffic. So you see, if he was in traffic at the beginning of the show, he could not have run over Randy Savage. That was somebody else. Says he is super tight with Kevin Nash. There is no power struggle in the NWO. Talks about the bat match for a while, and that's it.
It was so goddamn boring. Every single week.
Hammer versus Goldberg.
God, it was great. I so miss Goldberg already.
Goldberg,
my new favorite wrestler. He should be in the Hall of Fame, I've decided.
Goldberg in this match did the best clothesline I ever saw.
Yeah.
Imagine, if you will, let's pretend Goldberg's house is cold and he needs some firewood. And he says, I'm going to go into the forest and I'm going to chop down a tree. Only he forgot his axe. So he says, no problem. I'm going to take out this tree with a clothesline. And he clotheslines the tree as hard as he can, and the tree goes down in the woods. That is how he hit Van Hammer with a clothesline here. He just drilled this man as hard as he could. Oh, God, I laughed. Hammer tried something off the ropes. Goldberg speared him in midair. Sort of. He had a jackhammer for the win.
It's another example of, I'm glad the guy was no better. I did not want to see a perfect Goldberg spear as the guy came off the top rope. I liked the guy jumping, and Goldberg was a little late, and so he was desperate, and he lunged harder than ever and fucking split this guy in half. God, I love Goldberg. He's the best.
This was win number
69.
Nice.
So Mike Tenay came up with the idea for the streak, as everybody may or may not be aware. And it was real. And when it was real, the fans would actually get results of house shows so that they could add it up. And they would come to the building with signs for what number he was really at. And it was getting over huge, and fans would show up and they'd have all these signs or signs everywhere with the number. And so these shitheads decide,
Yep.
Let's fake it. We'll say he got 9 wins this week. And the moment they lied, all the signs vanished.
Yeah.
They killed it dead.
Yeah.
These fuckers didn't do everything right.
Did 3
Goldberg.
double shots this week.
Yeah.
So, there's more.
Yep.
First of all, he has just defeated Hammer, so the flock comes out to attack him. There's like 5 guys. And Goldberg roars at them, and they all back down. He's the best wrestler ever.
He is the best.
There's no question.
And then for whatever reason, Saturn locked on the rings of Saturn on Hammer.
This was one of many times in the show where the announcers had no clue what was going on. They were not smartened up, and they had to guess at storylines as they tried to explain to us, the viewers, who also had no idea what was going on.
The more I watch Goldberg, like, honest to God, a year ago, I would never even have considered voting for Goldberg for the Hall of Fame. After this WWE run from Survivor Series through Mania, and especially the Mania match, the promos, everything, I'd vote for this guy now. That's how awesome he is. He's my hero.
So they showed replays of all this. Oh, we talked about that, yeah. Saturn put Hammer in the rings of Saturn, and the best guess the announcers had was that this was Saturn punishing Hammer for losing. But we don't know. That's a guess. Oh, Roddy Piper.
May I?
Please.
Have at it.
First off, this guy comes out, and he calls Giant a whale-like man who got harpooned and thought it was acupuncture. And he's his friend.
Yes.
Now I realize what an asshole I've been all these years. I heard him say that, and I thought, what a fucker. Like, what a promo he's cutting. And I realized they're partners.
It's like a record scratch moment.
Yeah, it's like, he's his friend.
Yes.
Then this fucking guy, I don't even know what this had to do with anything. Like, every Roddy Piper promo. Everybody, I am just telling you, I'm going to make Vinny say it.
So,
I'm going to pass the heat to you.
it's been a few weeks now that he's been insisting Hogan and Nash were former lovers. Here, for a match with it's Hogan and Nash, but he says, years ago, I fought a transvestite named Goldust. I didn't write down exactly what he said, but what he said was,
He basically said,
I hit him with a baseball bat.
I beat the shit out of him, and I made a man out of him.
I beat the transvestite with a baseball bat and made a man out of him.
That's what he said.
Yes. Bragging.
What? Oh my God. I told you guys.
Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah. I tried to... Anyway. Yeah, this is awful. So he promises he's going to leave Hollywood Hogan.
It's an obsession with this guy. It's an obsession, Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
It's been promo after promo
Yeah, yes.
after promo.
No, you're right. You're right.
There's a pattern here.
He promises to leave Hollywood Hogan auditioning for RuPaul.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Fuck, it's Piper. I never know what he's talking about. The one line I understand. I was like, oh my God.
Going to go on RuPaul's drag show.
I would watch that.
Actually,
for the record, if Hogan needs money, please, RuPaul's drag show, get Hulk Hogan as a contestant. I will watch every week. Hey, you know who was great?
Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie fucking Guerrero.
Every week.
Eddie and Chavo come out for a promo. Eddie says, man, Grandma called me last night.
Eddie is the only man on the earth who could pull off this promo.
He may be.
Absolutely.
And not have them kicked off television.
He says, Grandma called me last night. And I'm pretty sure when he says Grandma, he's actually talking about his mom. He says, Grandma called me last night crying. You know why, Chavo? They wouldn't let her into the potluck last night. She had a pot of menudo. You know the menudo she makes? They wouldn't let her in. You don't want to know why, Chavo? Because they don't admit grandmas who are grandmothers of grandsons who are losers. And Uncle Mondo, he was kicked out of the Lowrider Club.
The Lowrider Club.
Yeah.
Because his nephew is a loser. Now, I got a match here against the Ultimate Dragon. That's what he said, Ultimate Dragon. But let's be honest. That wouldn't do anything for my career, beating this guy. But if you beat him, it'd be a big deal for you. Now, Chavo, apologize to Grandma and promise her you're going to do your best.
Chavo, I apologized last week.
Finally, because he's got to do whatever Eddie says, and Chavo says, Grandma, I'm sorry. I'll do my best. This was so awesome. Eddie was great.
And then the match was good because Chavo, he's still a little heelish here because he didn't want to apologize again. He tried to get out of it.
Yes.
But the match was all about how he wasn't ready. He wasn't in his street
He's
clothes.
either in jeans and tennis shoes.
He was against a former champion.
Yeah.
And he worked his ass off, and he did very, very good before losing.
Yes.
It is a perfect setup for this guy to be a babyface.
Yes. So Eddie's watching, and the point is clear that Chavo is fucked, and then Dragon's making his comeback. Eddie can take no more, turns his back to the ring, and hides his head under a towel in shame. So Dragon wins with the Dragon Sleeper. Eddie gets to the ring to start slapping Chavo with and without the towel. Ah, the best.
I'll tell you what was also great. The footage of Gene Okerlund at the pay-per-view.
What the hell was this?
Berating Dean Malenko.
You've never seen a bigger dick in your life than Gene Okerlund in this segment.
This is, for those of you that only watch modern wrestling, and you see these geeks like Dasha, and these backstage interviewers who are just absolutely horrible asking robotic questions, Gene Okerlund comes out here after Dean Malenko has lost to the pay-per-view, and he's like, Dean, what the fuck's up, dude? You lost. He starts rattling off. You lost at Starrcade. You lost at Super Brawl. You lost here tonight. Now you are a bona fide loser. And Dean hangs his head in shame. And Gene says, where do you go from here? And Dean just says, I'm going to go home. I watched it, and at first I was like, this Gene Okerlund is such a dick. He's such a dick. But then, when it was over, my thought as a viewer, observing this as if it's a real sport, was that maybe Gene stepped over the line a little bit here, but really what he was being was more of a tough love coach. Like, Dean, I know you're better than this. Why are you losing all of these matches? How the fuck are you going to turn this around? I thought Gene was awesome, but he was a dick.
No, you're wrong. He's a total asshole.
He was, I admit
Dean
that.
should have beat the shit out of him here.
But he didn't, Vinny, because he knew that Gene was right. He was a bona fide loser.
Anyway, Barry Darsow versus Lex Luger.
He went home.
He went home. Because Gene was mean to him. Gene bullied him.
Gene bullied Dean Malenko.
He did. Did you watch the segment?
Didn't bully the guy.
He verbally bullied him.
Dean Malenko.
At his lowest point.
Yeah, he bullied him because he's a bona fide loser. If he'd been a winner, this wouldn't be bullying.
Folks, I've worked with this man for like a decade now. Just want you all to know that.
Let's talk about Crusher Khrushchev and Lex Luger in 1998.
Yeah. It was funny.
Would it have been better in 1988? I'm not sure.
That was my thought. You know what? I think it would have been exactly the same. They had a 1988 match in 1998. They did hammerlocks, they did stomps, they did clubbing forearms.
Not only that, but Barry Darsow was trash talking Luger by saying, I'm going to break your arm, you stinking bum.
Yeah, he was, oh gosh, what's the trainer in Rocky?
Oh, Mick.
Mick. He was Mick from Rocky. So, yeah, that's all they did. During the match, the announcers say, oh, by the way, Ric Flair is going to appear on Thunder. He will either issue a challenge or retire.
They didn't quite say that, but
There was no middle ground in this.
they said perhaps a challenge and perhaps something about his career, which was a hint that he might retire. So for those of you that don't know what the fuck's going on, and if you watch the TV show, you would have no idea what the fuck's going on. Ric Flair had a great match with Bret Hart. He fucking disappeared. He wasn't seen again until September because he was supposed to be back on Thunder, but it was a last-minute call, and he'd already booked plans to go watch Reed in his amateur wrestling meet.
Oh, no.
Now, keep in mind how many times we've seen the NWO, and, like, Nash isn't there, Hall's, like, nowhere to be seen, dudes miss the show all the time. Ric Flair misses a show that they schedule at the last minute, and Bischoff files a lawsuit against the guy. And that's where he was until September when he made his big return.
Man, going to watch your kid wrestle did not work out for Ole.
That's right.
True. Flair, of all people, should have
He
known that.
should have known that.
Damn it.
Bischoff should have brought that up.
So Lex won with a torture rack here against Smash in 1998. Kurt Hennig and Bryan Adams versus Davey Boy Smith and Jim Neidhart.
Oh, boy.
Vinny's shaking his head.
Just,
This comeback by the Anvil.
you also noted it was the coldest hot tag of all time.
That isn't even it, dude.
And then it got worse as he went on.
Listen to me. This was the worst hot tag
Thank you.
in the history of wrestling.
Thank you.
I swear to God, the Anvil makes a hot tag. The guy's been on the apron who even knows how long. Now, first off, if this were real, he would have had a lot of time to figure out what he's going to do when he gets the tag. It's fake. They could have gone over in the back what he's going to do.
Hours beforehand.
He hit this fucking ring, and he couldn't think of one thing to do. I swear to God, he gets in there, and he doesn't know what to do, and so him and Hennig start throwing these horrible shots back and forth. He's throwing these horrible shots, and then Bryan Adams feeds, and what does he do? He locks up
Yeah.
with Bryan Adams.
Yes.
I will give $50 to the first guy that can find me any hot tag where the fucking guy locks up. $50 I will give you if you can find me in the history of wrestling another hot tag where the dude makes a hot tag, he's a house of fire, and he locks up. You'll never see it. I've never seen anything like this.
Now, let's not...
Am I lying about this?
No,
you are not.
You were factually accurate about the whole damn thing.
Let's not gloss over how bad Crush is. You have Hennig working over Davey Boy's leg. He's doing the toe hold. He's dropping knees on the leg. He tags in Bryan Adams, and Bryan Adams goes to work on the man's back. And Davey's still holding and selling his leg the whole time. And then him, Crush and Anvil throwing hands at the beginning of this. Oh my gosh.
And let me reiterate, this is not one of those matches where there's multiple hot tags. This is the climactic hot tag at the end of the match that leads directly to the finish. He locked up with Bryan Adams.
Yeah. Now, we have talked about how awful
How
the
did
beginning
you
was.
and you and all of us make no money in wrestling?
I don't know.
And that guy made money for decades.
Well, you kind of
God bless the guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But Jesus Christ.
We have talked about how terrible the beginning was. We've talked about how historically never seen before bad the ending was. Let's not ignore how bad the middle was as well. They go to commercial in the middle of this match, and when they come back for commercial, Crush has Davey Boy in a bear hug, and the fans are all chanting boring. Mm-hmm. This is what greets you when you get back from commercial on this. Hennig wins with a perfect plex. They keep beating down the Canadian and the Englishman. Bret Hart runs out to make the save, and as I'm thinking, this is the exact same shit for the third week in a row, Tony Schiavone says, this is the exact same shit for the third week in a row. Not a quote, but what he said.
I had to watch this in two parts, and this is one of the parts that I came back to. So I watched this match after I'd walked away from it for a few hours. And I watched the match, and I got all the way through the match. Bret Hart came out. I was like, oh, crap. I watched last week's. Because it was exactly the same.
Yeah. No, you did not
The
watch
show
last
is
week's.
so bad.
So, let's see. Chris Jericho comes out for a promo, dedicates the episode to Dean Malenko, begs Dean to come back, and he runs down Prince Iaukea and Juventud Guerrera.
Juventud Guerrero does this match, and for the entire match, the announcers are trying so hard to talk about how Juvi lost his mask, but he turned this negative into a positive. He has turned his career around as a result of losing this mask. If only other people could turn negatives into positives the way that Juventud Guerrera has. Fucking guy does the match. He gets put into submission. He can't get out. His buddy comes and throws in the towel. And they keep pushing that at least he didn't quit.
He never surrendered.
It's like, this is the worst push. Push. This is his push.
Yes, losing
After
every week.
losing his mask.
Yeah. Turn things around.
God bless Tony Schiavone. He was trying so hard. But we can fucking see with our own two eyes, he's as big a jobber as ever. Worse!
Scott Steiner versus Sick Boy. This match was announced, and I thought to myself, what in the hell is this? And I can only imagine Scott Steiner thought the exact same thing. Because he hit this ring, he took this fucker down, and just started walloping him.
Scott came out with new tights that said Big Papa Pump. And Virgil was carrying a trophy of some kind, and nobody knew.
No, again, the announcers have no idea what's
They
happening.
had no idea what the trophy was for. They
They
speculated.
presumed,
They speculated it might have been a bodybuilding trophy.
good presumption there,
So
but we don't know.
No.
I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, this is Sick Boy's third match on Nitro. And the second time he has fucked up a springboard.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
epic degree.
This springboard
Badly.
drop kick, wow.
Steiner knew it sucked and said, fuck this, and he finished him off with a Steiner recliner. Vincent's out there with a trophy, and Steiner's trying to get the camera on him, but every time it was like Paul Jones. Every time Steiner looked to another camera, they switched to the other one.
These people are so incompetent. And you know what? I probably was burying the show in 1998, and people were probably so angry that we were so hard on this show.
So negative.
Just enjoy it.
Sting versus Kevin Nash. First, Nash got a promo. Says Hogan was out there earlier talking for 45 minutes. I have a completely different view, he says. Noted the Viper had been red and yellow. Those are Hulk Hogan's colors. He said he was wearing a Randy Savage t-shirt in support of Randy Savage, but he also noted that when I wear your shirt, you get fired.
He says this, the smartest guy in the business, makes this insider comment, and then he proudly looks around for the reaction. It's dead silence. Like, you're just an idiot.
So he says he's not going to hand the belt over to Hogan. The only place the belt is going is around his sexy waist. He's going to get a bat at the pay-per-view and beat the hell out of all three of them. So out comes Sting. But first, there's Michael Buffer. Sting, you see, the World Heavyweight Champion, had weighed in at 259.5 pounds.
Wow. Put on some weight.
And this man, as Buffer says, he is the man whose allegiance is aligned with no specific affiliation. That doesn't even make sense.
I didn't write down what he said, but before he even does the introductions, he goes, tonight, it is the latest in the war between the NWO and the WC. He said something wacky like that. I was like, there's no way he doesn't write this.
Oh, of course
He
not.
has to.
Absolutely.
Well, he used the same line about Sting. This man walks to the beat of his own drum.
Yeah, that was in there too. So they do this match. Now I'm going to assume neither of you watched the college basketball championship game last night.
Watched a little bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It was
Liar.
a horrible basketball game.
Yeah.
Both teams sucked and the refs sucked. But everyone watched because the stakes were high and it was close throughout.
Well, we sucked more. That was the good.
Gonzaga sucked more at the end. In this match, it sucked. It really, really sucked. But the stakes were high and it was close, so people were into it. Because unlike, for example, Norman Smiley, at least this was important. So at least it had a good heat. was mostly Conan interfering and Nash doing neck cranks. In the end, Sting's making his comeback.
I've never seen so many variations of a neck crank in a nerve hold.
We've underestimated Nash's repertoire here.
I looked at the thing and it was like, there's like 15 minutes left with Kevin Nash.
Yep.
Like, how's that possible? Especially on this show. Well, it's possible because I saw 9,000 chin locks, rear chin locks, nerve pinches, nerve holds, and on and on.
The man of 1,000 neck holds.
He is. He's the man of 1,000 neck holds.
Probably Granny's favorite wrestler. So Sting makes his comeback. Conan hits the ring for the express purpose of getting Stinger splashed. He steps to the ropes. The announcer's like, what's going on? And Conan just runs to the corner and Sting crashes and hits him.
And
No,
not
he hit
even
Nash into him.
Yeah.
not even in front of him. He stepped behind Nash.
Yes.
Yeah, what was your plan, dude?
He
They were
wasn't,
trying to say he was trying to take the bullet, but Nash was in front of him.
he wasn't trying to take the bullet. He was trying to dodge the bullet, but got hit. anyway.
Yes.
I guess a theory is that when you do a Stinger splash, the pain is not the man hitting you, but the weight shoving you into that small buckle.
I see.
So maybe
So he was
it does
cushioning
make
the
sense.
blow for Nash.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That makes as much sense as anything I can think of.
Well, Nash's always complaining about his back, so...
yeah.
All right.
Well, speaking of, Nash
All
goes...
that carrying of Sting that he did in this match.
I see.
Sure.
Nash teased a power bomb, but his back gave out and he let go. And then Hulk Hogan runs in and just starts punching Sting for the DQ.
Remember earlier you were talking about somebody sneaking into the ring?
Yeah.
Hulk
Mark Henry.
Hogan snuck into the ring,
Right in front of Nash.
and Nash didn't see him.
Right in front of him.
Nash was taking his shoulder straps down, and he turns around, and Hogan's beating on Sting for the DQ. And he's baffled. Where did this 320-pound goblin come from?
Nash was looking at 12 o'clock. Hogan snuck in at 9 o'clock
Yeah.
on a clock,
Yes.
and he didn't see him.
There was a point when pre-NWO, but it was Dark Side Hulk Hogan. He's dressed all in black and feuding with a giant. And I forget what the setup was, but Hulk Hogan comes through the crowd. He's wearing black boots, black spandex pants, black spandex sleeveless shirt, black sunglasses, black do-rag, or not sunglasses, but black do-rag. He has the Hulk Hogan mustache. His golden 24-inch pythons are out there. He's wearing a Zorro mask to hide his identity. It didn't work.
They'll never know.
That was many years ago.
Remember the Hulk machine back in the old WWF?
Yes. No, the machines. That was great. I watched one. It was like JYD machine and the Killer Bee machines.
And the giant machine?
They tried to do mass confusion.
Yeah.
But the referee looked at Junkyard Dog and said, "You're not Brian Blair."
But he loves that story.
I do love that story.
And it is a good story.
Have I told that before?
Yeah.
Once or twice?
About 16 times.
What about King Kong Wikipedia? Have I told that story before?
Yeah,
Better every time.
Okay.
It's been longer since you've told that one.
So anyway, so Hogan and Nash are bickering. Nash says, "I had that match won." Hogan says, "I'm just trying to help." And the camera is like looking almost over Nash's shoulder at Hogan. So Hogan's face is almost straight to the camera, but Nash is obscuring the other part of the screen. So we don't see Sting get to his feet. We don't see Sting approach them. And we don't see Sting until his fist comes out of nowhere and strikes Hulk Hogan in the jaw. That was awesome. That was the best part of this whole show. So Sting fights back. Eventually he gets overwhelmed, and Piper and Giant make the save. And that's how the show ended.
The show's off the rails, dude. This show is off the rails. I honestly didn't know until I started looking up this show that next week is the week. But my God, after watching this show, it's abundantly obvious why. This show is terrible. And you know what? It only gets worse.
It does.
And it gets...
So Nitro. Number 135. Also, of course, April 13th, 1998.
135 of these are exactly like the first one.
Yes. We'll recap it, but it should all be very familiar to you. Fit Finlay versus Scott Steiner.
Okay, I got to ask about this. The very beginning of the match, Scott Steiner comes out, and Larry the Axe Hennig, Kurt's father, and Dick Rude, Rick Rude's father, who were friends, are standing there in the front row watching the show. Scott Steiner comes out, and he starts yelling at the Axe. And I'm thinking, the Axe's son is in the NWO, Scott. You're in the NWO.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck's going on here? So then one of the announcers says something like, "Well, I'm sure that the Axe is appalled at his son's behavior." And I'm thinking, okay, well, they're in Minneapolis or whatever. And so I'm sure Larry's supposed to be like the elderly babyface legend, and his son's a prick. I had that in my mind for the whole fucking show until the end when Kurt Hennig comes out, hugs his dad. They're on the same page, and Kurt's a heel and his dad's a heel. What the fuck was Scott doing here?
Entertaining himself. I don't know. He seemed to be, and I'm saying this is by Scott Steiner standards, by the way. He was in a bad mood from the get-go. He's manhandling Finlay in the ring, which is his gimmick, and Lord knows Finlay can take it. He leaves the ring to yell at Larry Hennig for no reason, and he gets back in the ring. And if any of you are going to watch the show, when Steiner, he leaves the ring to yell at the Axe, he gets in the ring, watch the elbow he hits Finlay with. He just walks up and elbows him in the mouth as hard as he can. Finlay, of course, when it's his turn, he's not afraid to hold back, never has been. So at least these two guys are clobbering each other. And Steiner finished him off with a middle rope exploder and the Steiner recliner for the win. A fun, mean guy match. They still have no idea what to do with Bret Hart. It's been months.
Well, they kind of figured it out in this show, briefly. He's there. He thinks he's sick of talking about being screwed. Mm-hmm. Granted, I'm watching this with 19 years of hindsight, but will this fucking guy stop talking about the goddamn screw job? He doesn't like being screwed. If anybody gets screwed, he's going to be there. If anybody needs help, he's going to be there for him.
What they did was they took what may have been one decent sit-down promo and cut it up into about 20 terrible short sit-down promos.
Dude.
He just kept coming back and he'd say one sentence and he'd go away. So let's repeat his claim here because this is important later. If any promoter tries to screw over a wrestler, Bret's going to intervene. He will not let anyone get screwed over by promoters. Remember that. Lenny Lane versus Ultimo Dragon.
I never realized how great Ultimo Dragon was until he had a good match with Lenny Lane.
Saying quite a bit.
Lenny Lane was horrible, and they had a good match.
And Lenny was on offense for most of it.
Yeah.
Ultimo Dragon gave him this match. Apparently, he worked a lot in Minnesota. He got a good reaction. So they gave him a lot here in this match before Dragon put him out with a sleeper. And even there on the finish, Lenny accidentally escaped the Dragon sleeper. So Dragon had to kick him in the back and put it back on. The other thing of note here is they're talking about Bret's hockey team, the Calgary Hitmen.
Well, what was weird, actually, about the Dragon Sleeper was Dragon slipped behind, but I guess he's got a good arm to do the fucking sleeper. And so he slipped behind and grabbed him with the wrong arm.
I see.
And then kicked him and switched arms.
I didn't notice that detail.
I did not know that it was so important to use your good arm to do a Dragon Sleeper.
Or a stunner.
I guess.
That's a lesson learned here in 1998.
We've learned a lot here, yeah.
They just plugged the Calgary Hitmen and their Western Hockey League playoff series against the, not making this up, and they're still around, Brandon Wheat Kings. The Kings of Wheat. Getting their plug here on Nitro. Just makes me laugh. We had more of Bret talking. All he wanted was a fair shot at the world title, whether he won or lost. They go to the announcers who flap their gums for like 5 minutes. Just talking. They throw it to Mean Gene, who's interviewing Roddy Piper. First, Roddy Piper, again, says Hogan and Nash are gay. And then he books them in a match against each other tonight. Didn't he?
Yes.
Okay, he booked them in a match against each other tonight. And then he says, after that, I'm going to fight Hogan myself. Timeout.
Yes, he's a coward.
Not just a coward who wants to fight a man who's already been through a fight. He's a crooked promoter. He's screwing Hulk Hogan here.
So Bret Hart should
Where is Bret Hart to punch Piper in the mouth?
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe he was going to, but Hogan beat him to the punch. Because Hogan shows up and wipes him out. Hogan and Disciple lay him out. Disciple manages to hit a stunner in the hallway without breaking his hip, which actually, which is an achievement.
It was so bad.
Well, hey, I would much rather have him do a bad stunner than a stunner where he breaks something. So they go to commercial, come back, and Gene brings Giant out for a promo.
You know what's so funny about that, by the way? That was a pre-taped segment, like from a week earlier. So we, as viewers, were supposed to believe that was backstage on this show. But later in the show, one of the announcers, I think it was Bischoff actually, commented that if you want to see Hogan, he's in LA right now on Jay Leno. Can they get anything fucking straight?
Well, he did say tonight on the Leno show, is where he put it. So theoretically, Hogan could have watched Disciple do a stunner in this hallway, stampede out the door, get in a private jet, and fly to Los Angeles with a time change.
I guess. Except Leno's pre-taped.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they were full of shit. I tried. Giant comes out for a promo. Giant promises that Piper's going to be ready for Spring Stampede. Runs down Hogan, runs down Nash, all the NWO. Says in this bat match, you're supposed to climb up and grab this bat, but I'm so big, I'm so athletic, I'll just jump up and grab it. He cuts a really good promo about wiping out Hogan and especially going to take out Kevin Nash. This is a very, very good promo. And again, I'm just saying, this guy at this point had been a pro wrestler for like 3 years.
He was very, very talented.
He was very good.
You know, Charlotte's only been a wrestler for 3 years.
She as a wrestler was better than Giant was here. Although Giant was a better promo. Johnny Grunge versus Chavo Guerrero Jr. When I saw Johnny Grunge come out for a singles match, I battened down the hatches. I was prepared for all kinds of horror.
They decided that Public Enemy needed to do 2 singles matches tonight.
Yeah. Well,
they didn't have enough people on their roster.
One, they had an idea for Rocco rocking the table later, or I guess it could be either guy. But so that left Grunge with nothing to do, so they said, have him wrestle Chavo. Doing this match, Chavo knows what he's doing. Grunge totally held his own.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, it sure was. That was much better than I thought it would be. Chavo tries the sunset flip.
You realize that like a lot of those ECW guys in the early 90s, I mean, they were given gimmicks and outfits where it looked like they had just been pulled out of the crowd and were backyarders.
Yeah.
They'd been places. They'd been wrestlers and they'd been trained.
I see your point. But I've seen a lot of Johnny Grunge matches.
Well, yeah, because they always wanted him to do the Public Enemy bullshit. Now he was wrestling Chavo and he just had to wrestle. It was all right.
It was certainly all right. Chavo tried a sunset flip. Grunge sat down, hooked the legs, got the win. This had to be the biggest singles win of his career. He beat a name guy on Nitro. Not a star, not a top star at least, but he got a win on Nitro. Bret Hart's back. Here's everything he said. Nash is scum and Hogan's worse. Nothing can make me happier than to see those two snakes kill each other off. Fade to black. Again, did this need to be 18 different promos? So Nash comes out for a promo. Says Hogan has fled the building in fear. So you can't wrestle Hogan. Piper's already laid out. Can't wrestle Piper. Nobody knows where the Macho Man is. The hospital? A medical clinic somewhere? He was nearly run over last week.
A medical facility.
Yeah.
By the way, he was backstage because he came out later.
As we found out, yes.
Nash hasn't been looking around very carefully.
He may have literally, from where he was sitting, looked around, not seen him, figured he's not here.
Nash got his revenge for Piper's gay joke. He had to tell one of his own.
Yeah.
Fucked it up.
I'm not gay, you're gay.
Probably thought it was so clever.
Yes, I did.
Nash is a hideous promo.
I didn't even write it down.
Something about George Michael.
Who he called George Michaels. Said he might be champion right now if not for Hogan's interference last week. At this point, Sting came running out, and I do mean running out. I don't know what got into Sting. He had more fire here than we may have seen since he put on the crow makeup. He was on fire.
Probably saw the way he was booked later and figured I better fire.
By the way, he's been booked since Starrcade. It goes down as people look back and say, well, Sting was a failure as champion, and Hogan was still a star. And you go back and watch, and it's like, no, Sting had no chance at champion.
Of course not.
With the obvious exception of Rey Mysterio, there has never been a guy who was champion for more than a couple of weeks who was booked this badly. From start to finish. He won the title poorly. He was booked to defend the title poorly. He was shunted down the totem pole every week.
I would argue that the end of Seth Rollins' last title run was much worse than Sting's whole run.
That certainly sucked
when he
as well.
lost 19 matches out of 20.
That certainly sucked
as
well.
champion.
Yeah. So Sting says, yes, I want to give Nash a title match tonight. Nash can even use the bat if he wants. Dylan says, you don't make the matches. WCW makes the matches. If you want to wrestle for the title, it's got to wait till the main event. Then Sting says, I want the powerbomb reinstated too. Nash is happy about this. Dylan says, fine.
What a dumb baby face.
And Nash says, how about the bat? And Dylan says, no, not the bat. So Nash keeps taunting Sting. Sting had left to leave. And when Nash started taunting him, Sting dashes back to the ring, rolls inside, does a dozen crotch chops, runs away. Sting was in a mood. Glacier versus Chris Benoit. The
Glorious.
announcers are talking about how Glacier had failed to live up to the hype of his big debut, which is true. Larry's claim, this just proves the inferiority of karate compared to pro wrestling.
You know, it's so
Pro wrestling
funny.
is strongest.
It's so funny because Larry spends 4 minutes and 21 seconds, which is the length of this match, just going on and on about how you can't come into this sport and only do karate. You've got to learn how to wrestle. You can't be a wrestler and not wrestle. It's all about wrestling. He's burying the martial arts and karate. Wasn't Larry a martial arts expert like 2 years ago?
Larry Sick claimed to be his own black belt in both strong style and soft style. Okinawan style he knew.
Exactly. Yeah. But man, now he's totally anti-karate.
Yeah. Glacier did his best to match Benoit's intensity. It was a fun 4 minutes and whatever. And then Benoit caught him in the crossface for the submission win. I showed a clip from Thunder. Buff Bagwell calling out Lex Luger. Points out he is 5-1 against the total package. Turns his back to the camera, flares his lats to show the jacket he's wearing has a self-portrait on the back. So he makes his own face as big as it can be, and Tony looks into the camera and does the biggest eye roll you ever saw. Bagwell was great, everyone.
He wasn't just a great character, but his match with Luger...
We'll get to that.
He's so... And it's almost over.
I know. I think on Thunder after this, I think.
It's like any day now. He breaks his neck. He's out. They fuck up his return. He's never the same. God, I don't know. Bagwell's had a lot of personal issues, and I don't know if it's a result of the broken neck and the pain or whatever. But man, this is like a major big-time tragedy that did not involve death in this business.
And it almost did.
With Buff Bagwell.
Yeah, for my cause... After going back and watching the Monday Night War start to finish, Buff Bagwell is most famously remembered for having one terrible match with Booker T in Tacoma. And that's not fair. I'm going to champion Buff Bagwell as a fun, entertaining pro wrestler for like a decade, by the way, because he's a great babyface tag team guy for years before the NWO. Buff Bagwell was awesome, and I will not have that argued. So later on Thunder, Luger and Scott Steiner got into a brawl, which gave Rick Steiner a chance to come out and hit Eric Bischoff with a suplex on the floor. And this just came out as they have no idea what they're doing and just said, you four guys closest to the curtain, go out there and do something fun.
Not to mention it's Thunder, and Bischoff is the Vince McMahon of WCW. And you just randomly wasted a big suplex on the cement for Eric Bischoff that, by the way, he didn't even fucking sell. Like, he comes out later on the show, he briefly grabs his back, but then he's smiling and he just comes to the ring. What a fucking waste.
Yeah. So here we are back live on Nitro, and Bischoff and Bagwell come out for a promo. Fan holds up a sign that reads, Roids, Shrinks, Nuts. I do not see Bagwell's appearance on Gigolos. If anyone can say what that has to do with him, I don't know. So Buff Bagwell, whose whole gimmick is that he loves his own physique so much, he calls himself Buff. He made fun of Lex Luger for flexing too much.
Because he's the greatest.
Because he's a hypocrite. He heals hypocrites, and he's awesome. Promises that Rick Steiner is a beating coming for the suplex he hit to Bischoff, but first he's going to beat Luger tonight. And here was where Bischoff added, Hogan would take care of Rick Steiner himself, but he has to leave to do the Leno show. And in hindsight, what a horrible plug.
God.
You get your top guy on a major network talk show, and you throw it out there halfway through the show at random?
Yep. They did not know what they were doing. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not.
No, they did not. So we had Luger versus Bagwell. So Buff, it would be fair to say that he did 90% the same match every single night, but God, it was a fun match. And he ran wild early. He did all his wacky posing. And finally, Lex made a comeback and knocked him out of the ring. And when Bagwell got to his feet, Lex did his imitation of Buff's wacky poses.
With the smile. It wasn't even the flexing. It was when he did the flexing and the stupid Bagwell smile.
Yeah.
I howled.
There are things that we watch and we have forgotten. Jeff Jarrett's return as the Double J. Henry Godwin's entire career after breaking his neck. And then there's moments that I remember crystal clear 19 years later, and Lex doing this spot was one of them. Lex's wacky dance and his wacky pose and his wacky smile making fun of Buff, everyone laughing, and Buff getting mad because now they're making a fool out of him for flexing too much. This was so great.
It's like one of those things like when Randy Orton did that giant split jump during his comeback.
Yes, I'll never forget that either.
You'll never forget it because it never happened before. And maybe happened one time after. It was so out of character. The fucking Viper.
Yeah.
He did a giant split jump and a babyface comeback.
Not even a comeback. After the match.
It was ridiculous.
It's like a celebration. So they had a fun match. Lex dodged the blockbuster, made his comeback, called for the torture rack, and the place was going nuts, but he put it on, and Bischoff hit the ring and kicked him for the DQ. Lex, who was carrying a 250-pound man or bigger on his back, no-sold all these kicks to the ribs.
Exactly, because a goddamn executive, when they kick a wrestler, the wrestler doesn't sell it. They look at him like he's a bug.
Yes.
They don't fucking sell for the guy.
So Lex put Bischoff in the rack. Scott Steiner runs out. Rick Steiner runs out. And ordinarily, this would be a dumb DQ finish when they could have just, Buff Bagwell can lose. It's okay. But at least the way it was all done, you can see, okay, they are setting up a tag match. That's fine. Now, I don't think that tag match ever happened because I'm pretty sure Bagwell hurt his neck on the next show.
All I know is that this harkens back to the good old days when the wrestlers were placed on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Now they're just like everybody else.
No, much lower.
Just a bunch of fucking geeks. They go toe-to-toe with executives. They're poorer than the fans.
Yes.
Like, the fans at least are employable. The wrestlers aren't.
No.
It's just amazing.
If they lose their jobs, the WWE, destitute.
They're fucked.
Welfare.
They're
Nothing
fucked.
else. Chris Jericho versus Super Jericho does a promo saying, "This is not Super This is Prince Nakamaki in a horrible Super costume. And a man unmask and reveal himself." The ref bought this claim, said, "I better investigate." But of course, he doesn't want to reveal Super here on live television. So he goes up to him and peels up just the bottom of the mask and I just peek underneath it. I don't know I hope it was supposed to be stupid. It was really stupid.
Pretty sure it was supposed to be stupid.
So Jericho jumps Colo, and then they had a bad match. They fucked up the very first spot they did, they fucked up the very last spot they did, and they fucked up some stuff in the middle. Jericho eventually won with the Boston Crab. Iakea runs out, chases Jericho away. Jericho, who of course had claimed Prince Iakea was Super Colo, now says, "This proves Prince Iakea has a twin brother." Sticking to his guns. Bret Hart said he would always be there to help Sting. That was it. Hammer versus Saturn.
What the fuck was going on here? This was Flock versus Flock, with other Flock members getting involved.
Last week, I remember this. I don't think any of them said anything. Last week, Goldberg beat Hammer, and afterwards, Saturn put Hammer in the rings of Saturn.
I remember that.
Apparently upset he had lost. So I guess this was Hammer out for revenge?
Teaching him a hard love lesson, I guess?
No one gave a shit either way.
No, nobody cared. It was stupid.
They wrestled a while. Saturn hit the head-on suplex in the rings of Saturn for the win.
And it was bad.
It was bad. Rocco Rock versus Goldberg.
Dude, Goldberg is amazing. He's so amazing.
Breaking news.
It is breaking news. I gotta remind everybody every week about how special Goldberg was and how awesome he was. He was the biggest star on this show. Mm-hmm. All he had to do was go out there and slaughter people in as sloppy a manner as possible. That's what made it magic.
So the
and Rocco Rock is a great body to be slaughtered
He
here.
was a great lamb, yes.
Oh, man.
So the reason Public Enemy did singles matches is because they had an idea for a spot with a table. So Rock is getting destroyed, of course, but he's able to lure Goldberg outside and throw him into these stairs in the post and cut him off for a moment. Rocco says, "This is my chance," and he throws a table into the ring. He sets the table up in the corner, but as quick as he does that, Goldberg is back on his feet. So Rocco turns around, Goldberg spears him through the table, and then hits a jackhammer and wins. And everyone loves him. So Goldberg then calls out Saturn, who is coming down the aisle ready to fight. Raven runs out, moving as fast as I've ever seen him run.
Oh, my God. This! Some fucking fan wipes him out. And I mean, this fan wiped him out. Mm-hmm. Flew in from behind. Fucking took him down. And the weirdest thing was, they left the camera on it for a while.
They cut to it.
Security jumps in. The announcer's like, Wow. Because I'm sure the announcers had no fucking idea what was going on. They probably thought it was part of the show. So they're commenting on it. They're handcuffing this guy. Raven rips his shirt off. He's ready to kick this guy's ass. And then they never brought it up again.
Now, do we know for sure it was a fan 20 years later? Because
I'm virtually positive.
it certainly looked like a fan. The only reason I ask is because it was a big dude with a long black ponytail, and at some point in the near future, Raven does start teaming up or doing stuff with Canyon. So I don't know if maybe it was him. I don't know.
I don't remember.
It's WCW.
But they sure, if this was a storyline, they sure did a hell of a job with it because I bought it.
That's true. So yeah, Raven doesn't want Saturn to fight yet. So Kidman and Sick Boy tried to fight Goldberg. They tried. It did not go well for them. And the best part of all of this, Bobby Heenan, he goes out there and does his job every week, but it's just a job. Bobby Heenan loves himself some Goldberg.
He should.
Bobby Heenan has been around wrestling a long, long time, all over the place, and he knows that you do not find Goldbergs on street corners all the time.
No, he flat out said, this is the man of the millennium.
Mm-hmm.
In 2000, all people will be talking about is Bill Goldberg. And he was right.
He was right.
I mean, he's hardly a prophet. It was fucking patently obvious.
It was not. He was not alone in this prediction.
I mean, the only one who couldn't figure this out. I mean, you could maybe say this place is so fucked up that they're going to screw up Goldberg. But I mean, if you had any faith whatsoever in these people, Goldberg was the next big thing. It was so obvious.
Yeah.
It's not like today where you look at the WWE roster today, and there is no Goldberg. There's no person that you look at and you go, that guy is the next big thing. If they just went all the way with this guy, he's the one that everybody reacts to more than anybody else on the show. No matter what he does or who he's with, they go nuts for the guy. There is no Goldberg on the roster today.
Well, no, but there's almost never a Goldberg on any roster in history.
That's true.
He's very special.
That's true. But even watching Raw, you could see that The Rock, and you could see Steve Austin.
Yeah.
And The Rock hadn't broken out yet. And you could see Goldberg here. You don't see nobody like that today.
No, I guess not. Now, in the weird timing department, we've already seen Goldberg squash 3 men, really. Then they did a Goldberg video package.
Yeah.
It's paled in comparison.
I presume that this was supposed to air before.
I guess.
But they fucked it up.
Yeah. And it wasn't terrible, but WCW video packages were never that good. And this paled in comparison to what I had just seen Goldberg do. Had clips of dorks at a Nitro party, although I will say at least these dorks had some girls there. Yuji Nagata versus Kurt Hennig.
All right, this show was in Minneapolis. There's no way that these fucking people thought there was any chance that Kurt Hennig was going to be booed in Minneapolis in a match with his father, the legendary Larry the Axe Hennig, in the front row facing Yuji Nagata. This guy was so over. He beat the shit out of Nagata. Uh-huh. This was a 3-minute squash match. Just destroyed the guy. It was awesome.
The best part is they drag him over to the father's, and Axe stands up and he pulls off his sweater. He's got a Hennig Rules shirt on.
Yeah, Ole Anderson made that for him.
Probably did. Hennig won with the fisherman suplex. And then Rude handcuffs Nagata to the ropes, and then Jim Neidhart runs out to chase them away.
Dude. Jim fucking Neidhart. We're going to see Kurt Hennig versus Jim Neidhart.
I guess.
That sounds just appalling. I mean, any match with Jim Neidhart sounds appalling.
This is the problem.
But the idea you've got
Blank and Jim Neidhart is a bad recipe.
Who, when he's in a good mood, is awesome. You're going to put him in there with Jim Neidhart.
Laparca versus Booker T. Heenan asks Shivani, have you ever worn a mask? And then before Tony can answer, he clarifies, in public. That was funny. Had a pretty good brawl. People were not much into it. And Booker won with the usual sequence: scissors kick, flapjack, spinneroonie, sidekick, missile dropkick, pin. Parker goes to attack Booker with a chair afterwards, but Benoit runs out, puts a stop to that. Booker saw this, offers a handshake, but Benoit shoves him. They shove him back and forth. That's how it ends. Raven DDP video package. And then we had Rage versus Page. Robbie Rage of High Voltage and Diamond Dallas Page.
You know what I do love about Diamond Dallas Page is there are certain things that you see in wrestling. It's like nobody today wrestles like Chris Benoit. Nobody today wrestles like Eddie Guerrero. I mean, there are things that it was so before its time. Diamond Dallas Page set up for the Diamond Cutter is so primitive. Like, Randy Orton has brought it to such a level that the charm of throw the guy to the buckle, hit it on the way out. It's like people go nuts for that back then. You look at it today and it's like, that would be a lazy day for Randy Orton. That's all he could come up with. I'll throw this fucking vintner to the buckle. He's just horrible, so I got to idiot-proof this. Bounce out and I'll hit it. Nothing difficult.
I just like, Rage gets a minute or two of offense, so he says, I shall do a springboard splash.
And it was good.
It was huge.
I mean, it was.
There was one he did like months ago. It was a tag match, but he did a springboard like almost overshot and went out of the ring.
I love it because his springboard splash, if you've never seen it, he gets on the apron, he does a springboard, he bounces like 30 feet in the air,
Yes.
and he never stretches out.
Yes.
It's like if you got it all fours, that's the position he's in the whole time, and he lands on the guy. I've never seen it like this before.
Yes.
It's like he's afraid to stretch out.
So Page wins. Raven comes out with a flock. Says it's all Page's fault. He spent 3 years wrestling in barbed wire and fire. And here's where the fan was at. Yeah, earlier when Raven came out, he just stopped Saturn and that was it. Here is where Raven sends the flock out to brawl with Page, and as the flock is brawling with Page, here's where Raven is hit by the fan. So there you go. Conan versus Rick Steiner. Highlight of this was Steiner had DiBiase in his corner, who was still employed. Conan had Vincent in his corner. So they just had Ted DiBiase and Virgil renew their rivalry. That's all the fans cared about.
Ted DiBiase just gave him a beating.
Yeah.
So great.
Rick hit the diving bulldog for the win. A Sting, Savage, Hogan, Nash video package. And the main event for the world title, Kevin Nash versus Sting with a powerbomb legal.
This match was so boring. The actual wrestling match.
It was very slow. You could charitably call it methodical.
Nash
but
is
it was
moving like a glacier.
I would say more like a tree.
Sting is just there.
Nash would hit a power move, slowly stand up, pace back and forth a bit, hit another power move, pace back and forth a little bit.
Swear to God, I'm watching this. It's a world title match. And of course, I don't give one shit about it because number one, it's boring. And number two, I'm just thinking, what's the NWO run-in going to be this week?
What?
I had no faith that there would not be a run-in.
It's funny you should mention that because the most exciting parts of this match, the body of this match are, like every 30 seconds, one guy would jump up and look who see who was coming up the aisle. And this, of course, caused the fans, like a school of fish. They all stand and look at the aisle. So they look through the aisle, they're looking through the crowd, they're looking at the rafters. They know at any point there's going to be interference, and that's when the fun really starts. The match itself is boring.
They were getting ready, too, because the moment Randy Savage starts walking down to the ring, it was an avalanche of garbage in that ring.
Oh, yeah.
And nothing had even happened yet.
No.
They were just like, God damn it, start throwing the shit now.
So, let's see. Liz
Talk
takes,
about how Sting got completely obliterated.
Yes, Liz takes the ref. Savage hits Sting with his cast. Nash makes the cover. Sting did kick out of the cast shot. And I was trying to figure out why Savage would try to ruin his own title shot he's getting on the pay-per-view. Nash hits the powerbomb, makes a cover, but Brett's there to yank the ref out of the ring, and that's a DQ. And here...
Yeah, because Sting was pinned.
Essentially, yeah.
Bret Hart
For the
saved
second week in a
man
row.
for being pinned in the middle of the ring by a move that he legalized that had
Yes.
otherwise been illegal.
Yes. So the show ends with Sting in a crumpled, broken, pathetic heap on the mat as Bret Hart, by himself, beats up all the NWO.
Everybody. Bret Hart single-handedly beat up every single person that was there in the building that was in the NWO.
So Bret is clearly a bigger babyface than Sting. Piper and Giant are bigger babyfaces than Sting. Lex Luger is a bigger babyface than Sting. You could argue, due to dissension, Kevin Nash is a bigger babyface than Sting. Goldberg is clearly a bigger babyface than Sting. There may have been 10 guys who were more over as babyfaces than their world champion. This championship sucked.
Not to mention, the show goes off the air with Bret Hart single-handedly beating up every single member of the NWO. In 2 weeks, It's Sting versus Savage.
I think it's Sunday.
I think it's 2 weeks.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. The point is, who could possibly fucking care?
I don't know.
This show's a disaster. It is a complete disaster. And Raw won.
It certainly did.
At the beginning of the...
Is it just me, or was this episode of Nitro longer than WrestleMania?
Oh, yeah.
It went
No, it
forever.
wasn't.
It went forever.
WrestleMania
ever,
was
and
7
ever.
hours long.
Now I realize it was only 2.5, but God, this took a long time.
Especially the main event.
I think the biggest problem is it peaked like just over an hour in. There was one awesome segment, and then there was just 2 hours of dragging. Anyway, Nitro 136, also April 20th, 1998.
So keep in mind when we review this show that the week before, Raw had won. So Bischoff was thinking of all sorts of ideas to turn this war around.
Yeah, let's go back and do what we did before. The idea was, let's just do everything old again.
The idea was, for the first 32 minutes of the show, let's not have any wrestling.
Well, that too. So they opened with clips of Kevin Nash and Randy Savage celebrating because Savage had beaten Sting for the world title at the pay-per-view. By the way, Sting, a forgotten man.
Dude, he was not anywhere on this show.
They never mentioned him, I don't think. I don't think they
I
just said
have
his name.
no idea where Sting is.
If he hadn't have been in clips on from the pay-per-view, he wouldn't have been seen
No,
or mentioned of.
no.
He was gone.
So Nash and Savage are celebrating. Hogan and the Disciple attack them. The NWO run out to separate them, and that was what we got here from the end of the pay-per-view.
Dissension in the NWO. Norton taking Scott Hall or Kevin Nash's side.
It was taking the side of peace, taking the side of unity.
Fair enough.
Hogan and Bischoff come out for a promo. Hogan says, I am still leader of the NWO. I challenge Randy Savage to a title match. Yes, there is a split in the NWO. It is time to determine who is going to follow me and who is dumb enough to follow Savage and Nash. Then Savage came out for a promo, and he challenged Hogan. This seems redundant.
Well, you know, at least we got that handled.
So it was live TV. He could say whatever he wanted, and what he wanted to say is, here is the new leader of the NWO, and out comes Kevin Nash.
Not Savage.
No, not the
Kevin
world
Nash.
champion. Yeah. So Nash comes out in his tracksuit.
Dude, this guy. You know, it made sense later because at the end of the show he had to run to the ring.
Yes.
So it made sense he was wearing his tracksuit.
Yeah.
But God, he looked like a dork.
Got the too small baseball cap on, so it's sitting on top of his hair.
What is up with this guy?
I don't know.
Like, what is going on?
He's on cruise control, man.
He promises that last night will be step one in the end of Hogan's career. And that's really all they said.
Yeah, 30 minutes we sat through all of this bullshit.
Raven did a promo from a dark bathroom. Don't blame me, that's what happened. Said Goldberg was 74-0, but he's not going to get to 75. I beat DDP for the U.S. title, and I'm going to beat Goldberg too. At last, we had Conan versus Chris Adams. 24 minutes plus commercials into the show.
And we've heard the NWO theme song 4 times.
At least. Probably a lot more.
Thank God the Wolfpack's coming.
So much to my surprise, this was not a total styles clash. Traded fun takedowns and counters for a while. Then Adams missed a dropkick, crossed himself on the ropes. Conan finished him off with a DDT and the Tequila Sunrise. This was fine.
This was 3 minutes and 35 seconds and is actually the best Conan match I have seen in months.
Yes.
There was absolutely no point to it.
Yeah. Well, it's a wrestling show. Let's do some wrestling. That was the point.
Well, my point is, they could have taken it 3 minutes and 35 seconds and given it to the Barbarian and Wayne Bloom.
Okay.
Oh my God, what a match!
The Nitro Party was from Clemson University at the 80,000 seat football stadium.
That was pretty cool, actually.
Kinda.
Well, they had the wrestling on the big screen.
They had the big screen there and probably 79,700 empty seats.
Okay, that's fair.
This seems inefficient.
Hey, if they're going to let me use the field, I'm going to do
Yeah,
something
what are you
cool
going to do?
with
Say, oh, you know what? You're going to give me 80,000 seats for free. You know, I'd rather go to a small little venue.
All right.
Take it!
Barbarian versus Wayne Bloom.
This was the greatest match I ever saw. Barbarian just mauled him.
He did.
He just mauled him like a bear. He hit him with his big paws. And I gotta say one thing. So the Barbarian does a loaded boot gimmick.
it. Yeah.
Can any of these fucking announcers pay attention? Barbarian, in the middle of mauling this guy, in the most dramatic manner possible,
Yes.
he begins stomping his foot on the ground to load the boot. Now, maybe I'm the only one that notices, because, in fact, I have been hit with the loaded boot in my career from the fucking grappler. Stomps his foot on the ground. I'm like, he's loading the boot. Mm-hmm. The goddamn announcers are talking about something else. Fucking boots this guy with the loaded boot. He covers him, and Mike Tenay is caught completely by surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, he got him.
Well, he got him in a minute 16.
It doesn't matter. He loaded the boot and booted him. Of course it's a fucking finish.
Yeah.
What do you mean, oh, he got him? Pay attention to the match.
It was a great call of Barbarian makes the cover, and that's it.
That is it.
He was totally caught off guard.
I love the Barbarian.
Oh, sure.
He
Absolutely.
looked weird tonight, though. He had a weird body. Is it just me? Like, his head was weird.
He was in the ring with Wayne Bloom when you're talking about Barbarian's weird body.
Body was weird. Like, his head was too big for his body tonight, or his body was smaller, or his haircut was shitty.
Are you implying his head has grown?
There's something weird about the Barbarian. I don't know what it was.
It's very good, Larry. He won the match with that haircut.
Hey, that's better than whatever they were fucking talking about, which wasn't the match.
Raven was still in the bathroom. He laughed and promised that Goldberg's streak was over. Chris Jericho came out for a promo, had a picture of Dean Malenko on an easel. He was wearing Prince Iaukei's sarong, or whatever you want to call it.
That would be a sarong.
Yeah. He promised Dean would never wrestle again and dedicated the match to him. So we got Jericho versus Hoovy. Now, as noted going back watching these, I realize now Hoovy had his good nights and he had his bad nights. Mm-hmm. This is a good night.
Absolutely.
It was so good that even when he did screw something up, like the springboard kick, it just turned into a crossbody anyway. It still looked totally fine.
Story of this match was Jericho played Ric Flair. He gave Hoovy 9 million moves in like 2 minutes, and then he got him. Am I missing anything?
No.
He put him in the Boston Crab, and Hoovy would not quit, but the ref stopped the bell, or stopped the match. And Jericho releases it, and Hoovy is lying unmoving in the ring. And Jericho looks into the camera, and keeping in mind it's 1998, he gets off, and oh my god, I killed Hoovy.
Hoovy's gimmick is he never surrenders, so
He just dies.
for the last 2 weeks he's died
Yeah,
a
this
death
is
in the ring.
This is how they're getting him over.
Sure.
After he lost his mask.
Yeah.
You're gonna go in there. You're never gonna quit. You're never gonna win, but you're never gonna quit. You'll get over.
Chris Jericho continues to get more awesome every week on these old Nitro shows.
I wanted to bring back it's not quite a goose step,
Yeah.
but he had a silly walk in this match.
It was a mongoose step,
Sure.
like Mongoose McQueen.
There you go. Yeah, we need to bring that back.
It's Moon Goose McQueen.
My bad.
Yeah.
Okay, Raven versus Goldberg.
This was
so awesome.
It is amazing in the middle of such a horrendous show.
Horrendous night.
In the middle of, quite frankly, such a horrendous wrestling war.
Yes.
That there's one thing that no matter what, they just can't fuck it up.
No.
I don't even know how. Like, there's nothing that you could have done in this match that you could have done better.
So they had Michael Buffer doing intros. He noted that Goldberg's hometown was unknown. His weight is unknown. But his win-loss record, we all know. And he thought this line was so clever. And we're
I love
all
the idea that you can have an unknown weight. Like, there ain't one fucking scale on any show in any building.
I love the idea that of all the people on the show to not know their hometown, not the Barbarian, not Hugh Morris or
well, maybe
Psychosis.
all of those guys, Vinny.
Maybe.
He didn't have an opportunity.
I guess.
He had some weird hometowns for the Faces of Fear.
That's true. But they have talked about Goldberg playing football in Atlanta and college football in Oklahoma, I think.
Well, we only know he played there. We don't know where his hometown is.
It's really easy to find the hometowns of college football players.
No, it's unknown, Vinny. Come on.
It's very easy.
I think the weight's really easy to explain. Goldberg, will you please step on the scale?
Nope.
No.
No, he's from Oklahoma, played college football at Georgia. That's right, I remember now. Point being, Michael Buffer's an idiot.
That's what you got out of this?
Well, it was reinforced. So people were just ballistic for Goldberg, even before the start. Raven showed no fear. Raven draws a line in the sand with a belt and says, "Let's go, fucker."
What an idiot.
It's not his,
What an idiot.
not his smartest move.
No.
So Goldberg beats the shit out of him for a while. But then it is Raven's rules, and so Raven's able to use a chair for some offense. We get the chin lock spot so Goldberg can fire up, and then Goldberg starts no-selling punches, hits a big spear. The flock attacks. Goldberg just kills them all one by one.
Stop right there. The place is going absolutely nuts when Goldberg no-sells the punch and starts his big comeback. They're just losing their minds. And all of a sudden, the flock all hits the ring, and the fans died.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have been conditioned that as soon as these idiots hit the ring, it's a bullshit finish.
Yep.
And they're thinking either A, like it's going to be a DQ and the streak, he got to win via DQ, or God forbid, maybe they're all going to beat the guy up and he's going to lose. This took the air out of the crowd, but it was perfect because you took the crowd down, and then Goldberg proceeded to beat the shit out of every member of the flock, and it brought him right back up again. Mm-hmm. They realized it's not a DQ. Oh my God, he's he's jackhammering Ron Reese.
They set it up perfect. So it started with the smallest guy, Kidman, and then Sick Boy, and then Horace, who is now in the group, and then here comes the giant Reese, and everyone thinks this is it. It's the end of Goldberg, and Goldberg says, nah. And he jackhammers this big fucker, which is awesome. Raven, he's out of ideas. He tried to fight fair. He tried to send his gang after him. It all failed. It's time to run away. Raven tries to flee through the crowd. Fans grab him, and we are told, throw him back over the guardrail. He winds up back in the ring.
It was really cool looking, the idea that he was trying to flee, but the fans all got together to make sure like a lumberjack match with fans. But it was also really, really stupid.
Well, sure, because he's going to encourage fans.
You cannot encourage the fans to put their hands on wrestlers and throw their ass back over the barricade again.
Yeah. So they throw him back in the ring, and Goldberg hits one more spear. Then he jackhammer on a stop sign to win the match and the title. This got a bigger reaction than anything on WrestleMania. Place just went nuts. White hot heat. This was so awesome. This was a great spectacle.
This was about as good as a match you could have laid out for Goldberg. It was the longest match he's wrestled, and it was the most competitive match he's wrestled since coming in. It was done perfectly.
Well, he had that Regal match.
It doesn't count.
This was better.
It doesn't count.
This was better.
It was way more competitive. I will say that it was awesome. I forgot what else I was going to say.
It don't matter.
I had another point that I forgot.
La Parka versus Ultimo Dragon. These poor guys were in a death spot having to follow the Goldberg match, but they gave it the roll. So Eddie Guerrero starts dragging Chavo down the aisle by the hair and by the ear. Then when they get close to the ring, they begin to tiptoe into position.
I remember what I was going to say. So remember we were wondering about that fan that jumped Raven?
Yeah.
Okay. So the one last week was Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
But there had been a guy that jumped him the week before that was a legit fan.
Oh.
So an actual fan jumped him, which gave them the idea to have fake fans jump him, who ended up being Canyon. Mm-hmm. So they're still fucking morons.
Yes.
they're shooting angles, yes.
Yes. There's one, I don't know if it's happened yet or if it happened on Thunder, but Raven is doing his promo while slumped against the bottom turnbuckle, as he used to like to do, and the camera is like 2 feet from his head, and a guy runs up and just grabs him by the hair and starts to yank him out of the ring. And security swarms him, and Raven gets up, and he gets back in the ring and picks up right where he left off. He is a pro.
He is a pro. This was not his first rodeo as far as fans coming after him.
No. Anyway, Eddie and Chavo come down, tiptoe him into position. Eddie takes the ref. Chavo wallops Dragon, and Parka hits a corkscrew dive for the win. Eddie was very happy. Parka was confused, but hey, he got a win, so he was okay. We had still shots of Nash powerbombing Sting the night before to give Savage the title. Chris Benoit versus Kurt Hennig.
This was so funny. So, Benoit starts beating the guy up. And I don't know what was going on, but Kurt Hennig, first off, he had a knee brace on. I guess it's
huge.
Kurt Hennig had it was like you took a sewer pipe and broke it in different sections and put it around his leg. Yes. It was massive.
He had a giant
It was like a suit of armor on his leg.
So Benoit's beating on this guy. And I don't know what the plan was in this match, but Kurt Hennig kept trying to cut off Benoit. Benoit would have none of it. Benoit ran through this guy. Every time Kurt Hennig tried to cut him off, Benoit no-sold it and just kept beating on the guy. So I don't know if they said, okay, Benoit, you're going to run through this guy. And then Kurt decided in the match that he was going to try something, and Benoit was like, you ain't trying nothing, dude. But that's what happened there. And then he calls out Rick Rude, who's doing commentary. So, Rick Rude is dead a year later. He was training to come back. And it was very, very clear, even here in early 1998, that he was trying to get out of his Lloyd's of London deal. This guy is doing more every single week.
Yeah.
He has not taken a bump yet, but he's throwing dudes around, he's kicking dudes, he's dropping knees, he's flying through the air for moves. Lloyd's had a very lenient policy, apparently. You can't take bumps,
It must have been-
but you can fight.
It must have been in writing, cannot do pro wrestling matches. May not be a legal participant.
Yeah, but he couldn't take bumps. He's never taken a bump.
I see. Of the two of them, Rick Rude was clearly in better shape to wrestle on this evening.
Oh, yeah.
He had a functional leg, two of them, unlike Kurt. So let's see. Eventually, they just double team him for the DQ. Booker jogs out to make the save. It was a very lackadaisical save. In fact, later we saw Kevin Nash running much faster than Booker.
Man, Kevin Nash, I forgot to mention this. At the end of Raw, Steve Austin is running up the ramp after Mick Foley or whoever. Kevin Nash ran better than Steve Austin.
That's also true.
I couldn't believe it.
So Booker jogs out to make the save, and the heels leave, but Benoit does not appreciate this. He warns Booker to stay out of his business, and then they started brawling, and they brawled to the back. Okerlund brings Roddy Piper out for a promo. Piper says,
My favorite.
in the bat match last night, Hogan made his life miserable. So tonight, I'm going to make Hogan's life miserable. How is he going to make Hulk Hogan's life miserable?
This again.
Yeah.
In his world title match, he's going to make it no DQ. So it's going to be a fair fight for the challenger. He also promises no one will run to the ring. Okay, we'll get to it later, but if you can do that, why isn't that the rule for all matches?
Well, as we found out, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
In a no DQ match, you idiot.
Yeah. Well, you could do it if you do something else to ensure that there's no run-ins. Put a giant gate on the while. I don't know.
You know, honest to God, I don't know, but I watch these Piper promos, and sometimes I think, this guy just comes out and says whatever the fuck he wants to get a pop.
I'm quite certain that's true.
Yeah.
Like, really, they wrote it into the storyline that Roddy Piper was supposed to come out and announce that no one was going to run in the main event, that they had a planned run-in for.
5 of them.
I mean, this fucking guy had to just go out on his own. I mean, maybe he was supposed to say no one from the NWO could run in, because then at least it makes sense, because Brett wasn't an NWO member. But the way he said it, nobody can run in.
How do you explain Nash then?
I explained Disciple.
Thank you.
It's all stupid.
It's incredibly stupid.
Not to mention, Rowdy's mad at Hogan. So he makes it no DQ, knowing that the NWO can run in and do whatever they want because
help.
there's no DQ.
And help Hogan. He also makes it no time limit. So Hogan doesn't have to worry about going to a draw.
Ridiculous.
Then, after doing everything he can to tilt the odds in Hogan's favor in the match, he says, and after that, you're mine, Hogan. So he's going to make Hogan fight the World Heavyweight Champion and then beat him up.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, he wants to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, he wanted Hogan to have the title so he could take it off.
I guess. This is stupid and made no sense.
Right.
Hammer versus Saturn.
This was the longest 4 minutes of my life.
There's no way it's only went 4 minutes.
4
4:08.
minutes and
You
9
had to
seconds.
fast forward.
4
No.
minutes and 8 seconds.
If you told me 4 hours, I'd have believed you.
Yep. It was bad.
They brawled. They brawled up the ramp. They got countered out. Fuck off.
And why is Saturn growing out his hair?
That's a good question, too. They repeatedly...
You know, I was wondering why his hair looks so horrible.
Because he's usually bald.
Now I figured it out, yeah. It was hideous.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Didn't he
He's
have, like,
growing it out, but he's balding.
Right.
So he's growing out
a bald spot?
male pattern baldness.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
He has a hole in his haircut.
Didn't he, when the Eliminator started, didn't he have the haircut Nakamura has now?
Yeah, he had
Something like
kind
that?
of a mohawk kind of thing.
Yeah. Public Enemy versus Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell.
This was amazingly okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, I talked about grunge as a singles and how
He
low
actually,
my expectations were.
He did some stuff in this match.
He did the funniest, fattest double bulldog.
Yeah.
Like
They did something, but they're facing the wrong way, and he runs up, and it's nice to call it a bulldog, He leaped high in the air and sat on his fat ass, and the other two guys fell down next to him.
That's what happened.
It was ridiculous.
But yeah, I know Public Enemy knows how to do tag matches. I love Bagwell. Steiner knows a thing or two about doing tag matches. This was all very fun. So, in the four-way, they go to put Bagwell through the table, but as in every other WCW Public Enemy match ever, they go through the table instead. So Steiner goes to put on the recliner, but Buff says, no, I want to hit my blockbuster instead. And Steiner says, okay. And he helps him up, and he forms the guy in the back, and Buff hits the move, and he wins.
What a selfless man that Scott Steiner
It was
is.
funny because they do this spot, and the announcers are talking about how, well, it appears they're a good team, but there's a little bit of dissension.
Where?
I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? One guy wanted to do the move, the other guy's like, sure, do it, we're a team.
It is a cool move.
It doesn't matter who wins.
Yeah.
We got the win. I thought they got along great.
Buff and Bagwell Buff and Steiner were just such a perfect team. Such a perfect team. When they come out, getting in each other's way to pose for the camera,
It's awesome.
the two biggest egos you ever saw.
I loved at the end when Scott Steiner does a big biceps pose and Bagwell hangs from it.
Yep.
Your arm is so strong. I can hang from it like a baby.
Yeah.
I'm a 245-pound fucking man. I'm hanging from your arm. What a great team.
They
It's
were
so
awesome.
sad.
It is so sad. Booker T and Psychosis.
What in the fuck happened here? What is up with Psychosis?
Is it just okay?
This is 2 weeks in a row. He's had an absolutely horrific match.
This was the point on the show where it's like, I've been watching this for too long and I just want it to be over.
Yep.
So maybe it was just the match was horrible.
But it was weird because at the end it was good. Like the last 2 minutes were really good and the people are going crazy and everything looked good. But for like 5 minutes in this match, it was just one fuck up after another. And my favorite one, I don't even know what they were trying or what got fucked up, but Booker just stops and his eyes grow wide and he just looks at the crowd.
Okay.
Like, what the fuck is happening in this match? What's going on here? But he didn't give up. He just kept going.
And he hit it at the end. He hit his the same 6-move comeback he does every match, and won with a missile dropkick. Brian Adams versus Lex Luger.
I hate Brian Adams.
What a shitty match!
You know, let me say one nice thing about Brian Adams, and I'm going to get going. Buddy always said that Brian Adams was a really nice guy.
Okay.
So at least we can say, I'm sure he was a nice guy. Now, granted, he served time. He had some problems.
So did Buddy.
Made some mistakes.
But Buddy vouched for him. This fucking guy is so bad in the ring. It's unbelievable. Like, every now and then you'll hear somebody use the term, his timing was off. And if you don't watch a lot of wrestling or you don't pay a lot of attention, you're maybe not quite sure what that means. Watch Brian Adams.
His time zone was off.
His timing is off on every fucking move. I don't think there was one move in this match that was not mistimed. It was astonishing. He couldn't do anything right. Everything they did, he jumped early, he jumped late, he fell early, he fell late. I was like, oh my God. And whose fucking idea, by the way? We got Brian Adams on the roster. Who would be a great opponent? I got a great idea. Lex Luger. They're going to have a great match together. Wrong!
So these oafs. Yes, Greg.
I was going to say, the only saving grace is he didn't try the stupid pile driver in this match.
Lex probably put the XD on that one.
Exactly.
Brian, you're not doing your power driver tonight. So these oafs are lumbering and fumbling all over the place. The announcers are like, folks, main event's got no time limit. Get your sleeping bag, get your pillow. We're going to be here all night. I screamed. I was horrified at this concept, and I believed him. So the match keeps going. Virgil gets in the ring. Lex puts him in the rack. Conan gets in the ring. Lex puts him in the rack.
What is it about this rack?
People love the rack.
Dude, people love... It doesn't matter what city you're in.
No.
It doesn't matter who the opponent is. It doesn't matter...
How big they are.
It doesn't matter if everything else on the show sucks. Lex Luger puts a man in the rack, a guaranteed pop.
Oh, yeah.
Why is no one using the rack in 2017?
I'm trying to remember the last time I saw it. I think Chris Masters tried to use it for a while. Am I nuts?
I don't know.
Nikki Bella?
That doesn't count.
So anyway, Brian Adams did not go in the rack. Lex hit him with the bionic elbow and pinned him.
Remember when they did that 6 months of storylines about how Nikki Bella wasn't over because of her boyfriend or her boobs? And meanwhile, her finish is the rack attack, named after her tits.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm just not getting that.
Get out of here.
The announcers, almost a full 3 hours into the show, just talked for like 5 minutes. Yeah. Oh my God. Finally, it was time for Randy Savage versus Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan.
they probably realized we got 20 minutes left for a Hulk Hogan Randy Savage match.
Jesus. Okay. So Hogan, in a match that was advertised as having no run-ins, he just comes out with a Disciple, and the Disciple interferes liberally. I was so pissed. So they're doing this match, and it's all Hogan beating him up. And Savage would do like one move or a comeback, and Hogan cut him right off. Using chairs. I like when Hogan... First of all, they're dressed exactly the same. Black tights, black boots, and they both have big, heavy weightlifting belts on. Mm-hmm. And Hogan takes his off, and he whips Savage with it, and he chokes him with it, and then he puts it back on. That amused me.
Well, Vinny, he's wearing that because his back hurts.
He needs lumbar support.
So he's got to hit a guy with it and then put it back on.
Yes. So finally, Savage dodges the big leg. He hits the big elbow, but he's hurt. He can't make a cover. This gives Hogan a chance to recover. He puts on the figure four. As soon as he puts on the figure four, in this match with no run-ins, all the fans stand and look up the aisle to see who's going to run in.
That did happen. By the way, is it that hard to put on a figure four leg lock?
No.
And you know
I've done
what's
it.
funny? You know what's funny about it? He applied it correctly.
Yeah.
And he still fucked it
It
up.
still just sucks.
Now, normally, he can't even apply it correctly.
spins
My
the wrong
favorite
way.
is he does a spinning toe hold, and then he puts the bent leg under the straight leg.
Yes.
That's a classic. He's tried this so many times. He's fucked it up over and over again. He finally got it on right, but he still got it on wrong. He was so far away from the guy that he could barely get his leg over. It's just all fucked up. Like, how can you not do a figure four leg lock?
I have legitimately seen Anderson Silva do a better figure four than Hulk Hogan.
It's one of my favorite stories, by the way. That video where Anderson Silva was showing that figure four leg lock. I've told this story before, but I must repeat it. I'm on like MMA fighting or whatever, and there's a video of Anderson Silva at a seminar, and he's showing how you turn the De La Riva guard into a figure four leg lock.
All right.
I'm like, man, look at that. It's fucking awesome. So I swear to God, I went to class that night, and Wang puts me in a De La Riva.
Oh.
Wang, I swear to God, in his life had never done a De La Riva ever. I don't know why he did this. And I looked down at it and I was like, all right, fucker. I put him in a figure four and submitted him. The fucking proudest moment of my life. And later I was like, Wang, you have never tried a De La Riva in your life. Why in the world, of all days, did you just randomly decide to try a De La Riva guard? And he goes, I was watching this Anderson Silva video and I thought I got to try this. And I was like, that was a setup for you getting submitted.
Oh, Wang.
One of the proudest moments of my life. A shoot figure four leg lock.
So Savage makes a comeback, throws down the ref. Disciple hits the ref with a neck breaker
With the belt.
with the belt.
Oh, no, that was
That was
later.
Savage. They double team Savage to death here in this match with no run-ins. Fans, the only people who remember Sting as alive, start chanting his name. Hit a belt-assisted stunner, and finally, after like 5 minutes of double teaming, after a match full of double teaming, it is time for Nash to run in.
Can I say one thing very quick about the Disciple stunner? I said it before about the figure four. I'll say it about the stunner. Is it that hard to do a stunner? He fucks it up every single time.
You know, I remember the one like 2 weeks ago, he hit Piper with one in a hallway, and I gave him a pass because it's a hallway, and you don't want to hurt yourself. But yes, he is the worst stunner in the world.
And I love the idea. They came up with the idea of, I'm going to put the belt on my shoulder, and I'm going to put your head on my shoulder. I'm going to give you a belt-assisted stunner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that they're doing all this to get the Disciple over. There was no payoff to this, if you're wondering. So Nash runs in. He now has a track pants, and the NWO shirt on. And yes, we teased it before. You've never seen Kevin Nash move so fast.
It was crazy.
It was weird. He runs in. He fights off Hogan, Bischoff, and Disciple. He powerbombs Hogan and puts Savage on top. And then Brett runs out. Brett hits Nash with the belt. And he puts Hogan on top of Savage and drags the ref over, and the ref counts 3. So Hogan's the new world champion. Piper finally runs out when he realizes, hey, I promised no run-ins, and there's been like 8 of them now.
It was so funny watching him come down the aisle and look just so hurt and confused.
Shaking his head. Brett, no.
I said nobody could run in. I can't believe it.
So Piper gets in Brett's face, and Brett tries to blow him off, but Piper won't leave him alone. So finally, Brett drops him with a punch, and he smiles.
So the story there is Roddy Piper was supposed to say, "Why, Brett, why?"
Aha.
Oh, okay.
They were going to do a Montreal screw job on both fucking shows, unbeknownst to each other, by the way. Piper couldn't remember that line.
Oops.
Why, Brett, why?
Well, I'll tell you why.
So Brett waited, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited. And finally he realized, this fucking guy can't remember why, Brett, why. I'm just going to punch him.
Yes.
And then when he did, Piper fell on Macho Man's bad leg.
Yeah.
The one
right on it.
One they've been working over the whole match.
So the show ends with Brett in the ring and Nash, Piper, and Savage down. So you see, in their mind, Hogan was being screwed by a dirty promoter. They think Piper was screwing Hogan by putting him in a title match and making it no DQ and no time limit. And Brett had promised he would never let an evil promoter screw a wrestler again. So that was their reason to have Bret Hart turn heel. Now, why did they feel the need to have Bret Hart turn heel? They signed him fresh off Montreal. Should have been the biggest anti-WWF, anti-Vincent McMahon guy they'd have going. He did, I believe, 2 matches, and they're out of ideas. They've run out of stuff to do with him.
Well, believe it or not, they had an idea, which never came to fruition. Apparently the idea was Brett wasn't supposed to necessarily turn heel. Brett wanted to win the title from Hogan.
I see.
So he had to get the title on Hogan. It's bullshit. It's horrible.
Yep. And that was the show.
That was our show.
So when's
everyone.
this goddamn war going to turn around? I'm still waiting.
Goldberg.
Well, you know, this was a much more exciting show than Nitro.
Oh,
Both of them.
Yes.
It's the same show every single solitary week. There's one exciting thing on it, and it's a green guy
Yes.
who's out there having sloppy matches.
It's awesome.
That's all it is.
And then
Should we just talk about Goldberg and go home?
May as well. There's nothing else. There's nothing else of note except a Disco Inferno Chris Benoit match, which was awesome, which involved no comedy from Disco Inferno.
No.
Which I point out repeatedly.
Well, I guess we'll start. We got 3 hours of shit to get through here. It's listed as Monday Nitro 137 on April 27th, 1998, though, as we noted, this show took place over 2 days. The Nitro girls were jumping rope when Alex Wright interrupted them to dance and security took him away. Kevin Nash and Randy Savage came out for a promo.
My God, the Wolf Pack has formed.
Yeah.
Finally, we get that music soon.
Oh, yeah, there'll be another. That's good news.
Yeah.
We don't have to hear the same NWO song 8 times in a show. Talked about Hall for a while. Said, yes, Hall has been away. The last time I saw him, Kevin Nash said, he was drinking a pina colada.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
And his hair was perfect.
Oh, I'm glad the guy who's had multiple alcohol suspensions has a good drink. It's good to hear.
You know that's a play on the Werewolves of London, right?
I did not.
Yeah, it's a song.
He mentioned it.
Yeah.
I did not know his line there about it's a terrible song.
It's not good.
I don't like it. Anyway. So
Great song.
I had forgotten that
course
Kevin
it is.
Nash and Scott Hall were the tag team champions because they haven't even been a team in like 3 months, let alone defend the belts. So he says he and Hall will defend the tag belts against Giant and Sting. Says Randy Savage is a member of the Wolfpack. He called out Bret Hart for hitting him in the belt last week. Quoted Tombstone. Said, if you're the sheriff, I'll be your Huckleberry. Savage runs down Bret. I have no idea what Savage said. Something about Hulk Hogan being the bomb. I don't know. They brought out Conan to be the new member of the Wolfpack.
Keep that in mind for later.
Mm-hmm. Conan began to run down Hulk Hogan, and it looked like here they cut him off mid-sentence, and they went to commercial. Had a Juventud Guerrera video package.
They're simultaneously trying so hard and not trying at all.
Yes.
With this guy.
Yes.
It's kind of amazing, actually.
Not to mention, I've said many, many times, but WCW's promo packages were so low rent.
Yeah. This one required Juventud Guerrera to speak, and specifically to recite dialogue.
Sure.
So it had to be edited heavily. Can't just give him 100 words and say, Hoovy, read this.
And they they showed him one side of his face, and then with the genius of their editing, they flipped the image.
Yeah.
when he came.
What he's doing. Remember the grade school photos where
Yes.
there's like the smiling picture in the corner, but the big one is like the blank face staring off into God knows what?
Sure.
That's what they were doing with Hoovy here. Anyway, he said he's the descendant of Aztec warriors and he won't quit. Chris Jericho came out for a promo. He's got a big picture of Dean Malenko. Larry says, he didn't paint that. It's not even a painting.
No, he didn't, Larry.
You're right. You got him there, Z. So
Larry had to be right about something on the show.
Jericho
And
interviewed...
since they book on the fly, he doesn't know where anything's going anymore.
That's true.
So he's got to make up stuff to be right about.
You know what drives me the most crazy? When Nitro first starts, the fans are chanting, Larry, Larry, and he has to turn around and mug for the people.
Yeah.
And the people are losing their
you
minds.
just now noticed that?
No, it bothers me every week because he doesn't deserve a chant.
Craig, he's a living legend.
I don't care what you think he is.
He's a living legend. What do you have against Larry?
He's a bumbling fool on commentary.
There's a lot of bumbling fools on commentary.
This company
Noted.
is run by bumbling fools, as we shall get to. Anyway, Jericho versus Chavo Guerrero. Eddie came out with Chavo, but he was all buddy-buddy with Jericho until Chavo kicked them together and Eddie went flying off the apron. Then Jericho won with a Boston Crab. Eddie gets in Jericho's face, but Jericho says, no, it's all Chavo's fault. And so Eddie slaps Chavo and berates him. And they left. And the only other notable thing about this is they've been using Jericho's WWE music.
Right.
They played it when he came out here. Then they played it when the bell rang and he'd won. But when they were showing replays, they left in his original WCW Pearl Jam knockoff song.
I think it's because it was a 1-800-COLLECT. That was the promo. That was the sponsor for it.
Okay.
So the guy running the editing probably just figured, okay, it can't be playing now.
There was another
You know what I
one.
mean?
There was another one where Jericho's match ended and they played Dean Malenko's music.
Well, that was
Yes.
later on this show.
That was weird.
Well, it's because he was
He's
making fun of...
pretending to be Dean Malenko now.
Yes.
Did you not pick that? Okay,
I
we'll get to
did,
it.
but
We'll get
it
to
was still. I mean, my point is like, why did they play Jericho's music when he came out?
They didn't.
You were confused.
They did.
The first time.
Brian,
Ah, fuck it. Who cares?
you do, apparently.
No, it's unimportant.
We'll get to it later.
I got more important things to talk about, like Bill Goldberg and Scott Norton.
That was great. We're not there yet.
Do we really need to talk about Hogan and Eric? Go ahead.
Had a clip of Hoovy losing his mask to Jericho months ago. And then they showed Buff Bagwell breaking his neck on Thunder.
Well, there was that.
Over and over again. That was not necessary to be seen. Had Nitro party clips. At least these goofs had their own dancing girls. They said Buff had undergone surgery on Monday, had begun to regain feeling in his limbs even on Thunder. And I looked it up. According to the always reliable Wikipedia, Bagwell suffered several damaged vertebrae and developed spinal shock. That's bad news.
He had 4 crushed vertebrae.
That sucks.
Just off that one bump.
Yep.
Wow. Then Hogan came out. Hogan, Bischoff, and Disciple. The announcers noted 30 miles up the road they can't give tickets away. Hogan buries Nash. He buries Savage. Buries K-Dog. He laughs at the idea like he's supposed to be concerned K-Dog left. Says, I will go find any hobo and he can come pick my orange groves. Now, I know this is supposed to be a vaguely racist joke about Conan leaving, but I just love the idea of Hulk Hogan owning a plethora of orange groves. That's where he got the idea for his tan. Hogan said Brett knew he was in charge, and that's why Brett helped him last week. Brian, talk about Goldberg and Scott Norton.
I'd love to. You know what they do with Goldberg? 8 times out of 10, he just faces another big giant. Gets over every time.
Yes.
They don't put him in there with like a little guy or an athletic guy. They put him in with Scott Norton or another big giant beast, which actually, by the way, is why he got over in 2017 as well. They put him in with a big giant beast
And he killed him
3
in minutes.
times.
Yeah.
And Kevin Owens. But that's the key. Like, everyone talks about Goldberg. Well, you just got to get a guy who looks good and he never loses. That's only part of it. You need to get a guy with almost no training and he never loses. And he goes in there and he has sloppy matches where it looks like at any moment somebody's going to die. Jerry Flynn, it's not this match, but there's another match with Jerry Flynn.
It's the best thing ever.
It's like Jerry Flynn does a jumping kick and Goldberg totally runs the wrong way and almost kills him.
Yes.
Fucking guy flies through the air and lands on his ass. Goldberg just stops what he's doing and looks at him like, why did you fall down?
Yeah.
Like, it's his fault.
Basically, yeah.
And then he lets the guy get to his feet, and then there's no transition. It's just he spears him as hard as he can. People go crazy for this. They went crazy for Bill Goldberg and Scott Norton. One big giant dude beating up another big giant dude. It'll never get old, and it'll always work.
Question. Was this in the same building? Did they tape both episodes, or did they run Monday and Tuesday?
No, it was the same building.
So they saw Goldberg twice on one show.
No. Well, twice on 2 shows, but it was the same building.
There was a 30-minute delay between the first show and the second show.
Oh, they say the Tuesday show was taped on Monday.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So they watched 2 Bill Goldberg matches, and he was even more over the second time he came out.
Fuck, after watching the first one, I'd be more crazy from the second one, too.
Yeah, Brian's not doing this match justice, everyone.
No, it was unbelievable.
This may have been the best match of the Monday Night Wars. These giant angry men shouting and spitting and snarling and clobbering each other and throwing each other around. Norton got more offense than anyone else had gotten against Goldberg yet. I believe he's the first one to get a 2 count with a shoulder breaker. Then he got a near submission with an armbar, and then Goldberg escaped. And as soon as he escaped, spear, jackhammer, win.
And he held Scott Norton up for a long time.
Yeah.
Scott Norton.
Who is big.
Yeah.
Probably actually on sheer weight bigger than Bill.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great. Just great. Okay, Mean Gene calls Bret Hart out for a promo. So the question is, why, Bret, why? They've stolen that line.
Bret is so sick of this goddamn question.
In and out of character.
Yeah, imagine like in 2009 when people were still asking him this about Montreal. He's sick of it in 1998.
Yeah. So, Bret says he sucked up to Hogan for a bit. Then he says pro wrestling is just a money trench. It is filled with pimps and thieves. It's a place where good men die young. If only he knew.
Oh, he knew.
Well, he did know, but it's not getting better. Actually, it's gotten better since then, but it's not going to get better for Bret and his friends in the coming years. So, Bret said Randy is half troll and half lizard. He said he had something to say to Hollywood Hogan.
So he's a lol.
I guess so. I was going to say Trizzard, but yeah, that would work. He said he had something to say to Hollywood Hogan, but he wanted to say it face to face, so he'd wait until tomorrow night. And Gene tried to guilt trip him. Went all granny on him. And Bret says there's no rhyme or reason anymore. There's no such thing as good guys or bad guys. It's time to be the real hitman or something. And that was the end of the Monday night hour of Nitro. So we go to Tuesday. Has another recap of Bret attacking Savage and handing Hogan the championship. Benoit and Inferno. What a fun wrestling match.
Yeah. Disco Inferno is a great wrestler. Well, Disco Inferno was a good wrestler.
He was in there with a great wrestler.
Was carried to a great match by Chris Benoit.
This went back and forth the whole way. People were totally into it. Benoit hits the diving headbutt to the back. Disco kicks out of that. So Benoit puts him in the crossface, and after a brief tease getting the ropes, Disco taps out, and that's that. A great match to set up Benoit, who is challenging Booker T at some point down the line. We had an awesome, cheesy Chris Jericho video package.
This was the one where he came out to the dude's music.
Yes.
Too many fucking matches when they're doing 2 shows, and I got to watch them both back to back.
Jericho
I got all
comes
confused.
out to Dean Malenko's music. He has his hair all tied up, trying to emulate Dean Malenko's Widow's Peak, which is awesome.
That was an amazing hairdo that he had here.
Yes. He pretends to cry, says he wants to go home. He laughs at himself and thanks all the fans. So we had Chris Jericho versus Psychosis.
Allow me.
All right.
Until the final 5 seconds of this match, I thought finally the streak is broken. Psychosis has had one sloppy, shitty match after another, week after week after week. Finally gets in there with Chris Jericho. They're just having a good match. There's a couple of kind of iffy things, but in general, they pull it off. Until the very end. I don't know what they were thinking. I think they maybe weren't thinking. They did something into a lion tamer.
I think Psychosis was supposed to go for a Frankensteiner off the top rope, and Jericho was supposed to drop in lion tamer position, but the physics do not work out with this.
He almost killed the guy.
Here is what I had to say. First, they botched a Cabrata spot right before that.
Oh.
Somebody fucked something up really bad, I wrote. Then they fucked up something off the top, and Jericho fucked up a Boston Crab and won. That was the finish. The other thing of note here is earlier in the match when Jericho goes to pick Psychosis up, and as he grabs him by the mask, he says, and it's not like he's shouting it to the crowd or into the camera, he just says, just barely loud enough for the mic to pick up, "I like your horns."
And most people pick up their opponent by the hair. Jericho made sure to use the horns as handles.
Well, there you go then. Yeah, this went south in a hurry. But it was worlds better.
Oh, yeah.
Entire dimensions better than what followed.
This was like really horrible.
Oh, it was.
I got one question.
Only one?
Well, I got a lot of questions, but I got one main question. So if you were going to continue to employ the Barbarian, and you were going to continue to employ Meng, why don't you just keep them together as a team?
It's a great idea.
I have
Brian.
no idea.
Why am I watching Hugh Morris and the Barbarian together as a unit?
Well, it didn't start off that way.
What began was Barbarian versus Rocco Rock.
Question.
See, you do have more than one. I knew it.
So this leads to a tag match.
Yes.
Okay. Why wasn't it a tag match?
I have no idea.
Whose idea was it in storyline to just do a singles match?
Or real life. Either way.
Well, the real life was to lead to this. Although,
They wanted to do that stupid ECW booking where it would be a singles match that turned into a tag match. But it was stupid there, too. First of all, by the way, a note. The announcers are talking about Bagwell's injury. Talking about all the risks guys are taking. How wrestling's more dangerous than ever. But ratings are sky high. So that's cool. They were totally fine with this. So, Rocco Rock. Wasn't he supposed to be the better half of Public Enemy?
Absolutely.
well, he is, but
No.
that's not saying a whole lot.
I don't think so. Rocco.
But you
began
realize
his-
that these men had bad days, Vinny, for a variety of reasons.
Well, this was one of them.
Rocco Rock was better than Johnny Grunge.
Not on
That
this day.
doesn't mean he was always better.
He was not better than Johnny Grunge on this day. Rocco started his comeback with a blown spot. He ran wild, if you want to call it that, with a series of middle rope axe handles. He hit a weak sidekick, and then hit a flurry of the lamest, slowest, most gentle punches you ever saw. I couldn't believe my eyes. So they go to the corner, and the ref's in the corner, and suddenly Hugh Morris is in the corner, and the ref has to pretend he can't see this 300-pound beast. Then Johnny Grunge runs in. Then Rocco gets thrown. He's supposed to be backed up through the table. It looked like in midair he realized, oh shit, the table's not there.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he was able to land on his feet and not die.
When Johnny Grunge hit the ring, he had a trash can and a bunch of toys that they were going to use to beat each other up with momentarily. Keep that in mind.
So everyone, the ref made it a tag match. Apparently an ODQ tag match as well. They all hit each other with weapons for a while. They teased putting Jimmy Hart through a table. Instead, Rocco and Hugh went through a table. And then Barbarian kicked a trash can into Grunge's face to pin him and thank the good Lord above and the match.
They hit each other with the turkey roasting pans.
The very cheap ones.
The ones you can get at Walmart for
Like a
97
quarter each.
cents.
Yeah.
That was phony.
Good.
Good. Great.
After everything else I'm watching.
Yeah, thank God. We need more 99-cent trays.
I like to see them use pillows and bubble guns. I don't need men to see men hit with cast iron skillets in the head every week.
Hey, forget hitting. This next match with Hoovy and Billy Kidman, which actually was a very good match. They had one of those spots that nobody thinks about, except apparently me. They're up on like the top rope or something like that, and Kidman gives him a jumping sidewalk slam or a jumping spine buster off like the middle rope.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome until Juventud smashed the back of his head on the mat because it's impossible to take this match without hurting yourself. There were so many spots in the 90s where I know guys got concussions
Yeah.
and they just kept going because the business was different. Like if you watch some of Sean's matches from like 96 and 97, like this dude would bump and he would land head first, like repeatedly on those hard fucking rings. I have no idea how many concussions Shawn Michaels has, but it's probably numerous. And a lot of these guys doing a lot of this stuff off the middle rope, like everybody knows about the one where it was Mike Awesome. Remember the Mike Awesome? And who did he give that giant power bomb off the top to and almost killed him?
Oh, when there was supposed to be a table,
Masato?
wasn't there?
No, there was another one.
Vampiro.
but- Vampiro, that's right. Nearly killed that
I
guy.
was gonna say Lance, but that was Candido.
That's a famous one, but like guys were landing and hitting their heads all the time back then. And nobody gave a shit about concussions. They just kept going. There's no way Hoovy didn't get a concussion off this thing. But he just kept going, and I bet he worked on Thunder.
Well, I'll say this. He looked great. Hoovy has his bad days and his good days, and his good days are really good. And his bad days are very bad, but this is a good day. Everything he did looked great. And he got the win with a Michinoku driver in the 450 splash. And the flock hit the ring, and he was able to fight off Kidman and Sick Boy because they're small, but Horace and Reese are big. Reese in particular.
Huge.
You forget, I mean, he's taller than the Big Show. He's not thin. He is enormous.
And then he's standing there next to Hoovy.
Well, that also is part of it. But he's also standing there next to Horace,
It's true.
who is big and just towering over him. He's a mountain of a man. So they laid out Hoovy. Mean Gene called out Alex Wright for a promo. Alex came out in what I believe was a lime green corduroy shirt with wavy patterns.
That's fair.
It was cool.
Sure. If you say so.
It's cool for Alex Wright.
I love that Alex Wright is being reintroduced. And so the storyline they came up with was he was on vacation.
Yeah. He was on vacation in his beautiful home country of Germany.
You're not impressed with that storyline, Brian?
No, I'm really not.
He was gone for a long time.
Yeah, that's a long vacation.
Well, he's a wealthy man. He can afford to take time off work.
Well, he could have said that then.
All right. So he explained he had come back to the pigsty of Norfolk, Virginia, to teach people to dance.
Oh, good.
Nobody told him what to do or where to do it. He began his dance. Gene was appalled. You would think he dropped his pants and started twerking or something.
Yeah.
Gene was mortified. Security came out and removed Alex again. Eddie Guerrero versus Booker T.
This didn't suck.
No. I realized Eddie was below average height for a pro wrestler, but Booker T looked 8 feet tall. I loved Eddie's out there with Chavo. And the gimmick is he's trying to teach Chavo how to be a badass. How to be a bad guy, in fact. So he's got Booker in a camel clutch facing Chavo and finds a number of creative ways to be sneaky about poking Booker in the eyes. So he finds 3 different ways to do it. He distracts the ref. Then he does one where his thumbs just kind of sneak up and get Booker in the eyes real quick. The whole time he's looking at Chavo see, this is how you do it.
At one point he tells the ref, he's got my tights.
Yes.
And the ref runs around and he pokes him in the eye again.
Yes. They did a series of roll-ups. Eddie tried to pin with his feet on the ropes, but Chavo ratted him out. And this distracted Eddie. And Booker had the sidekick and the missile dropkick for the win.
It was an awesome spot where Booker whips him into the ropes. Eddie comes back. He's going to hit him with that jumping spin kick. Eddie grabbed his leg and twisted like somebody throwing a clothesline and them ducking and grabbing the arm. Except he caught Booker's leg in midair and did a twist on it. It was awesome looking. Nobody ever thought of that. That's the first time I'd ever seen that.
I'm trying to visualize what you're describing and failing.
Okay, so he's throwing the spin kick. Booker's
I was
throwing
hoping
the
we'd
leg
just
way
move
over.
on. Thank you, Vinny.
Eddie ducks momentarily, but reaches up, grabs his foot, and then spins with it.
Okay.
Spins him where? Like a helicopter? Did he go up? Where'd he go?
He spun his
I don't know what
leg-
he's talking about either, Vinny.
Craig, I'll rewatch the match and I'll see if I can figure out what
Yeah,
happened.
I need more details. Like, did he fall down?
They both fell down.
They both fell down.
So
Yes.
was it a great sell or a great counter?
It was a great counter.
I see.
Who got hurt?
Booker T, Brian.
Okay.
I'm seeing Eddie caught him and hit a dragon screw.
Kinda.
Kinda.
Okay.
Or I'm picturing he caught his leg and then brought him down for like a, leg hold.
Sure.
I've seen that. But they both fell down.
Sure. I'm sorry I brought it up.
Well, I can't wait till the GIF is all over Twitter tomorrow.
Saturn versus Marty Jannetty. Saturn was wrestling in jorts and he won with a DVD. WCW had John Cena before John Cena and didn't even know it.
And they had Marty Jannetty.
And they used him to lose in 30 seconds to Saturn.
He's a dude.
Yeah. DDP came out for a promo. Challenged Raven to come out and fight. Kidman and Sick Boy came out instead. So Raven was not there tonight. They had a video just for Paige. They play the video on the Nitrotron.
Yeah, they yell, what's his name? Riggs. Riggs, play the video. It's like, Riggs, your production guy's got one eye. Of all the guys in the flock,
I hadn't thought of that.
that's your choice.
And by the way, where are the monitors on Nitro? That the
Shivani
crowd
has this thing
can
about
see?
a video wall.
Where's that at?
I don't know.
There isn't one.
Yeah. So
I think they had some screens,
Where, Brian?
like, from the ceiling.
they never show them on TV. They must have had something.
Yeah.
Craig is not convinced.
What do you want me to do?
I've been to a Nitro. They didn't have screens.
Where do you go to Nitro?
Seattle?
You do Nitro in Seattle? I remember the pay-per-view in Seattle.
They had a Slamboree.
They had
No, it's
Spring
not Bree.
Stampede.
Spring Stampede.
Spring Stampede,
and
yeah.
It's Homodome.
Well, Tacoma Dome sucks. This was the Scope.
For God's sakes.
Anyway.
I'm sure the Scope had a big screen. That's
So-
where you air the sports stuff, right?
So Raven's doing this video.
Oh, God, you're surly when you're sick.
I'm not sick. I feel great
What's that for? That roll of toilet paper in front
because
of
I have allergies.
I see.
That's different.
Raven says Paige's mother must have hated him, sent him to go live with his horrible father and bounce him from family member to family member. He said Paige claimed to have no memory before age 8, and he can't really be okay with that. Then he said he's already beaten Paige and their issue is now over, which is awesome because he taunted him, buried him, picked a fight, and then ran from the fight. So Sick Boy and Paige are laughing. Paige drops Sick Boy with a diamond cutter. Kidman runs for the hills. Paige leaves with the crowd, at which point Kidman returns to the ring to taunt Paige, but a fan hits the ring and lays him out, and this time the fan was absolutely Canyon.
Oh, yeah. It started the first week, it was a fan. Then they had this great idea to have a fake fan. Now they've had a fake fan 2 weeks in a row. So surely there are going to be more real fans jumping the barricade.
And a Goldberg video package, and then Jerry Flynn versus Goldberg in the second best match of the Monday Night Wars.
That was awesome. This is 48 seconds.
This is 48 seconds. So you're not doing... well, you kind of did the spot justice. Yes. Flynn does like a spin kick. And by the way, Jerry Flynn is so perfect as the over-the-top bad guy jock from every terrible 1980s high school movie. That's his character. So Flynn misses a spin kick that Goldberg's supposed to duck under, but Goldberg fails to duck under and barrels through him like a train. Just wipes him out.
I love that Jerry Flynn wears his black belt to the ring.
Yes.
He's got to keep his pants up, Brian.
Like, if you ever watch UFC, there's a lot of black belts that fight in UFC. But aside from like Hoist Gracie, and I guess GSP did as well, but nobody comes to the ring wearing their black belt. This guy comes to the ring wearing his black belt and wears it during the match. Then gets slaughtered.
He's slaughtered. So Goldberg runs through him and hits the ropes.
Now, here's the thing, by the way. For those of you that don't wrestle, all you got to do is run in a straight line. The other guy jumps in the air and does a spin kick, and you just run in a straight line. Or you grab his leg and, like, spin him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've heard that works too.
Sure. Anyway, you run straight, and you don't have a problem.
Craig's clenching a mighty fist.
I'm going to go back and tell my Booker T story again.
But the point of this is Goldberg's green. And
Yes!
so Jerry Flynn jumps, and his immediate reaction is, I got to get out of the way of this fucking kick. And so he runs in an arc around the guy, or he tries to. But the guy's spinning. And so the guy spins. And the way he thinks he should run is the opposite. And he fucking clips this guy out of midair. And this guy really did spin like a helicopter.
Yes,
for
he
real.
did. He did.
And then fell down to the ground.
Like a broken helicopter.
And then Goldberg looked at him like, you son of a bitch.
Goldberg hits the ropes. I assume, based on what happened next, that he's supposed to come off the ropes and just hit the spear and win.
Sure.
He comes off the ropes, Flynn is still down, and Goldberg throws in the brakes. And as you noted, Goldberg is still totally green. He's had 70-some matches at this point. None of them have gone longer like 4 minutes. And a lot of guys with this little experience in this situation would have panicked. Goldberg froze for a second. And you could see the wheels turning in his head.
His
probably
instincts
also
took over.
in his giant traps. And as noted, his instincts took over, and he said, fuck it. And he grabbed this man who was still down on the ground. He grabbed him around the chest, hit this giant sort of half suplex, half judo throw.
Like a double chicken wing.
Kind of. He grabs it sort of like in a face lock, and he's got the arm, and he kicks his own leg forward, and he throws Jerry Flynn, who's also huge, throws him high into the air, and Flynn comes crashing down. Everyone jumps out of their seat. It's the coolest thing you ever saw. Goldberg gets the spear. Goldberg gets the jackhammer. Fucking awesome.
Let me tell you another awesome thing. Let me tell you another awesome thing about Goldberg, which is a testament to his greenness. Everybody's heard the phrase a million times, the RKO out of nowhere. Shawn Michaels used to hit the super kick out of nowhere. Okay? In both cases, 98% of the time, I know exactly when it's coming. It's never out of nowhere. There was like one Randy Orton RKO in like the last 5 years that literally did come out of nowhere. I was like, holy shit, where'd that come from? But like 99.9% of the time, I see it coming a mile away because of the way that they put their matches together. Goldberg's spears come out of nowhere. That fucking spear came out of nowhere. Why? Because there was no transition or setup. The guy was getting to his feet, and Goldberg just speared the shit out of him.
Yes.
The guy wasn't even in the middle of the ring. He was over by the ropes. Goldberg didn't care.
No.
It's my turn to spear you. He speared him out of his boots. Place goes absolutely nuts because they didn't see it coming.
And the other part of this
Thank
is...
God he's green.
Well, he's green, but he is also such a great athlete that despite his enormous size, he can go to full speed in one step.
Oh, yeah.
This is explosive power.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber in there. Holy shit, Goldberg.
I bet you that guy has logged less time in the ring than guys that have been in the business 2 years.
Good for him.
You know what I mean?
Well, 70-some matches would be like, what, 2 hours total?
Sure.
Maybe.
Sure.
All right, so they very casually announced that Buff Bagwell had vertebrae fused. They believed he would eventually return to wrestling. And of course he did. It was time for the main event, which they had not mentioned one time throughout the show. Michael Buffer promised that 6 men, 3 against 3, would battle for power, honor, and glory. So here's the 3 against 3. The first 3 is Conan, Scott Steiner, and Bryan Adams.
Conan, who earlier in this program joined the Wolfpack.
So I assumed at this point Steiner and Adams must have as well. You would think. Because it wasn't even... I mean, he joined, he made a big production of joining, then he ran down the leader of the NWO. So you can't stand by Conan and say, sorry, Hulk, I didn't know what I was doing. That excuse won't fly.
Now, I should mention that Scott Steiner, who was on the Conan and Bryan Adams team, this was a week where suddenly he was 20 pounds heavier.
Yes.
I've been waiting for it. Like, he was Scotty Steiner, and then one day he cut all of his hair off, and then he bleached it, and then he was Big Papa Pump, but he was not quite Big Papa Pump yet. This week, he totally was. He was enormous.
Yeah.
And boy, was he out of his mind.
Also, yeah. So Conan did some great comedy with the Giant. I liked when Giant had him sitting on the top rope and was still taller. And it builds up to Steiner, who, as you noted, is bigger than ever, and Luger, who is Luger. Did you mention the other team is Luger, Giant, and Sting?
No, you didn't.
It's Luger, Giant, and Sting. Luger tags in, he's Lex Luger. Steiner tags in, he's Big Papa Pump. Big Papa Pump. These people went nuts to see strongmen face off.
It always works.
It always worked.
I'm telling you. It's timeless.
Everyone was screaming. The announcers were saying, and I hoped it was going to happen, that they would stop wrestling and have a mid-match pose down. That would have been awesome. They wrestled.
See, there's a thing. I just got to mention this very quickly. There's a lot of indie guys nowadays that don't go to the gym a lot because they understand that it's 2017 and fans really don't care about bodies. They just want to see good matches. And so there are a lot of guys that have gotten away with being very, very successful without really having much of a body at all. Now, the pendulum is swung because there is a pendulum. And the reality is the day is going to come where the fans get sick of little guys. And then the big guys will run amok again.
The dinosaurs will return.
The dinosaurs always come back. King Kong always draws money.
He does.
Godzilla always draws money.
Preach.
And King Kong versus Godzilla is always going to draw money.
Soon it shall.
Okay, so the point of this is everybody go to the damn gym. Because you never know when the fans are going to get sick of seeing little guys doing flips. The day will come.
So they briefly got the heat on Lex, but he wiped out Conan and Steiner. Both men then tried to tag out to Bryan Adams, which is funny. Then Adams walked out on them. So apparently Adams is still with Hogan.
Or is he?
Or is he? Steiner and Conan walked out together. They got counted out. Giant chokeslammed Vincent because.
Lame.
Well, let's get to lame. Gene brings out Bret Hart for a promo. Bret says, I'm not speaking till Hogan comes out. Hogan and Bischoff come out. This takes a while. Bret puts over Hogan like $1 billion. Says, you made more money than any wrestler ever. You're the most famous wrestler of all time. Hogan's happy to hear this. He thanks Bret for telling it like it is. And Bret says, everyone asked why I helped you. I'll tell you why. He unzips his jacket. He's wearing a Hulk Hogan t-shirt. But then Randy Savage hits the ring and attacks him like an idiot. Because Hogan, Hart, and the Disciple triple team Savage as the show goes off the air.
So we never get the big revelation of why.
It's been 6 months since Montreal.
Did you mention that Bret undid his jacket and he had a Hogan shirt on?
Yes.
I did, but it's
I'm
worth a
sorry
beat.
about that.
So they've paid a fuck ton of money to sign Bret Hart away from WWF.
Millions.
Multiple millions. And they brought him in. He had one match with Ric Flair. And they said, now what the fuck do we do?
Yeah.
And they waited.
Dude, they said
waited.
the moment he came in, now what the fuck do we do?
They waited and they waited. They had one thing for him to do with Kurt Hennig for a while. And he did that. And like, now what the fuck do we do? Let's turn him. Okay. Why do we turn him? Doesn't matter.
Why not?
Just do it. So they turned him. They don't know why he turned. So every show has to be a tease of the reason why because they don't know.
No, I hate to shoot down your theory.
They're just hoping that next week they might
Believe
come
it
up
or
with
not.
Yes.
No. I already told you guys last week why he turned. Because he wants to win the title from Hulk Hogan.
Well, that's
Right.
not how it comes off.
No, that's what he said in his interview. He goes, I'm going to tell you why I wanted you to remain champion. And then he got cut off by Savage.
Yeah,
Right.
It comes off like he got cut off because they don't know what they want him to say.
Well, it may come off that way, but they actually have a plan for once in their lives. Now, the rest of everything you said is true. He came in, they had no idea what to do with the guy. They make him a fucking special referee. They have no idea what to do with the guy. They give him a match with Flair. It gets over. They're baffled because I guess they didn't want it to get over.
No, they wanted to get rid of Flair.
They take him off TV for God knows how long. They don't know what to do with the guy. They bring him back. He has like one thing with Kurt Hennig. And then now it's like, we'll turn him heel. Kind of. Not really. Sort of. Eventually he's going to fight Hulk Hogan. We think. But we don't know. Because Hogan's got other things like Randy Savage and eventually Goldberg. Yes, it's a mess. The show is a mess.
That's it.
That's Nitro.
That's how it went.
Did you know that it's a mess? This ship is sinking.
How
How could you not watch this show and not think they go out of business soon?
Well, because the reason is because they were owned by Ted Turner.
Oh, there you go.
I just
Everyone
can't
thought
imagine.
it would never happen.
I can't imagine paying a guy the star power of Bret Hart and not being able to figure out what to do with him. That baffles me.
Well, Craig, because they signed him solely to screw with the other guy. That was
the
it.
other guy didn't want him.
Well, no, the other guy had him under contract.
Right.
So they offered him, they allowed him to negotiate.
Right.
They had to give him X amount of money or he wouldn't have left the other guy. So they paid him enough just to leave, but they had no plans for him because he was not an 80s superstar. I wish I had a song after all that, but I don't. We're going to wrap it up. Let's think more about that dudette.